Good enough for me!
All right, on that note, probably should explain what we're doing here.
Hi, everybody. This is the Still the Spirits podcast, where we spent the last 4 minutes debating about what the intro should be.
It better be the intro. My dog is a star.
So, the intro is the dog.
His
Because
name is Peppy. He's a very good boy. Where'd he go? He ran. Oh no, he's right here. I thought he ran away from me.
this is the first episode of the Still the Spirits podcast that is actually going on its own channel, and we kind of all realized at the same time, we never planned anything for the intro. So if you guys have any ideas for what the intro should be, let's get this comment out of the way. Comment down in the description below. Be like, hey, for the intro, Word should get up, do a little dance, and do a backflip. And we'll make that happen.
But as you can tell, any suggestions would be greatly appreciated.
For real, we if Forts isn't on, then we don't have the dog, and I mean, like, then someone has to grab their cat, and I would have to go find my dog at my mom's house, and my dog doesn't like riding in cars. So,
On that note,
Jacob, you have all the cards. You tell everybody what we're doing.
All right. So, with all the reveals for Kickstarter, as well as other reveals through on Twitter and through the Discord, as well as Dan leaking his own game through his live stream the other day at the time of recording this, we got a ton of new cards to actually discuss. So, the three of us decided to hop on a call for this Steal the Spirits podcast and just discuss our thoughts on the new cards. Anything else to add to that, or should I just start talking about the first cards?
Start bringing them up because they're all broken and overpowered.
Oh yeah, no, this entire
but
Dan won the game already. It's not. Set 1 hasn't even been fully announced. The game is cancerous. What's up, Dan? I mean, what's up, Dan?
Pot of greed, hand destruction, broken. No.
Isn't there a card? Isn't there? Yeah, there's a card destruction, right? And then like pot of greed.
Pot of greed with more steps. But...
And then there's an enemy controller in the form of like its defense mode activate or its battle position mode activation. Then there's look at your opponent's hand for the entire game. Just activate Millennium Eye right there, right? And then
Yep. Game's broken. Enough said. All right, that's the podcast, everyone.
So, to be clear, the reason why the three of us are on here is we are the three that are the most competitively minded out of the group. You guys would probably agree with that, right?
I wouldn't say I'm competitive. I like meme decks, but I play meme decks to win games.
Yeah, same here.
Out of the three YouTubers or the 4 YouTubers that everyone for the majority watches when it comes to Celestials, you'd agree Moxie's probably not in the competitive game set. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
I don't need to call him out. I don't know.
Well, I'm not. No, I mean,
calling him out. He's gonna quit.
He doesn't upload gameplay video. We upload gameplay video. We played in tournaments.
he's a busy man. He's a busy man. Tournament that's slowly pittering out because I think people aren't available.
But I think the best way to say it of the YouTubers right now that I've been uploading, especially a lot of Celestials content, we are definitely the most competitively minded, and also the rest could actually hop on a call today.
I think who can actually get in the call is the biggest factor at the moment.
Yeah.
It's currently midnight for most people at the moment of recording.
But it's daylight savings, so we get an extra hour back.
But is it really daylight savings day?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I could just sleep for an extra hour?
If you're watching this and you haven't set your clocks back and it's like 3 days later, you're out of luck.
Yep.
Anyway, we want to jump into the first card? If we can.
So I'm just going to go chronological through the reveals. So we're going to start with the Hydrake Twindra Penterror reveal. So I'm just going to read all 3 of them off since they all play off each other. So Hydrake is a 1-wind spirit, 4 attack, 1 defense celestial that reads that when it's destroyed in battle, you can special cast a Twindra from your hand or deck to the field in attack position. Twindra, the ascended form, is a 2-wind spirit, 5 attack, 4 defense celestial that pretty much has the same effect as Hydrake, but instead it ascends into the Penterror when destroyed in battle. And Penterror is a 3-wind spirit, 15 attack, 8 defense celestial that during this reveal had a different effect, but it's been confirmed to be updated, so I'm going to read the updated effect. And that is when this Penterror is destroyed by a card effect, you can special enchant as many Hydrakes and Twindras from your hand or deck as you want to the field and attack position. So for that, do you want to start with your thoughts on it?
Mine?
Either one of you.
It's trash. Absolute garbage. I would never play it in a competitive deck. I can't wait to play it casually. I want to play it casually so bad, but it's trash competitively. You will not see me having it in a competitive deck unless like some insane support gets announced for it. Just no. No.
I feel like where the potential lies, it's more at the Hydrake to Twindra line.
Yeah.
Just those two.
I mean,
Penterror's a little expensive.
but then again, like Twindra is a 5 attacker, right? So
Yeah.
realistically, it's trading with a Nekruff. Okay, so realistically, what's going to happen? Your opponent's going to play Nekruff. You're going to attack in with Hydrake. Hydrake is going to be destroyed. You're going to take 2 damage because the one to play Hydrake, and then the one because of Nekruff. Then Twin Drake's going to come in. It's going to trade. That's going to be 2 more, so it's going to be 4 total. Twin Drake's going to trade with Nekruff. It's going to be 5. Then you play the Penterror, which is going to be 8, and then it just gets a Shield of Achilles back to your hand. Realistically, this is the situation you're looking at. And in which case, congratulations, you paid 8 life and you had destroyed a Nekruff and used a back row on your opponent's field.
What if, here, might be crazy thought, what if you just don't attack with Penterror? It's the highest attack stat Celestial. Now your opponent can't attack through the body, and if they use removal on it, you fill your board. And just maybe get another Penterror out in a moment when you do have an availability to attack.
All right, hear me out. And then Gorgon's Gaze, target Penterror. Congratulations. If you Laurel's Penterror...
You just spent like 4 spirits and 2 cards to get rid of 1 card.
You got rid of 3 cards! 3 cards! Because you got rid of Hydrake and Twindra.
Yeah, but... Okay, but I'm saying like... If you play Hydrake down, maybe they don't attack into Hydrake. Maybe then you crash into something, get out of your Twindra, yada yada yada.
And they still used 8 life to play Penterror.
You would be 6.
Well, I mean, counting like Nekruff. If you attack into a Nekruff.
If they attack into a Nekruff,
yeah.
But I mean, you also don't have to attack with the little guys. You can leave them there as like, oh, don't attack me because I'm just gonna get to my thing faster.
Yeah, but then like, Earthquake and Laurels.
Yeah, I think part of the threat with the Penterror line is that you can sit it on the board and your opponent doesn't want to destroy them because it only will get stronger until they have a way to remove it, which then now you're delaying things for other things you can do with your turn. So it kind of builds your board, and maybe you don't even go to Penterror. Maybe if it's in the board, you go to Stratomoth and wipe all their runes out for a turn. Like, there's options.
You won't always have the answers. Like, worst case, yeah, you're definitely right, Johnny, but that's kind of what I think with like the Hydrake to Twindra line. You don't have to ascend if you don't want to. So maybe with like the Hydrake, you can try to bait out their removal, was what I was thinking, in fear of going into a Twindra and them not being able to answer it, or them wanting to stop you before you get there. And you can just kind of get them to remove it on a Hydrake and not have to deal with that removal later with like a Sorlet or an Exaltair.
But I mean,
that's kind of my thought with it.
If we take a look at like the format, right? We have 120 cards roughly in the game, right?
Yeah. There's going to be 120 cards plus 5 spirits.
And then plus the spirit deck, and then plus the starter decks, which we've already been told has exclusives, right? So we have like 140, roughly. And then we have all the removal, which is automatically a staple in any deck you can play them. Earthquake, Laurels, Shield, etc., right? All of those are automatically a staple in any deck you can play them. If you leave Hydrake on the board, nobody is going to be dumb enough to attack into it. They're going to go like, okay, well, let me search, let me dig for my PTA, let me dig for my shields, let me dig for my earthquakes, let me dig for my Kinleos, let me dig for my answers.
And that gives you a lot of time to get other threats.
Yeah, but at the same time, they're gaining resources at the same time. And I mean,
yeah, but you have a resource on the board that they don't want to touch. So you have more board control in that instance because you have something that they know that, like, okay, let's say they're playing Fire and they're trying to get to Trifernal. They don't really want to go into Blazarus because what the Blazarus going to do. So they're going to go into like maybe 2 Necros, but they're still not going to attack you right away because they're like, okay, well, they just go Penterror. And if you're building around Penterror, you can run, 3 Tornadoes, 2 Thunderstorms, 3 Thunderstorms, like P-Gus and stuff to disrupt their counter runes before you attack Penterror. And Penterror is not getting attacked back because it's got the highest attack stat.
Unless, of course, they have unless of course spoilers, unless they have Necklace of Harmonia equipped, and then I mean then it can
Yeah.
then I mean
Well, they have a
obviously,
20
yeah.
attacker for 2 every turn, which is like, but
No,
yeah,
I
they're not
mean, like
attacking into it.
if the person without Penterror has a Necklace of Harmonia
Um,
equipped to something, then I mean then
and
they
you
have the
say
potential to attack over.
you said Gorgon's Gaze a moment a second. It's like, okay, let's say they don't have Gorgon's Gaze already in play. They have to set it, and then on your turn they have to pass to your turn, and then you just P-gust it because you're in wind, and you probably have Aeolus out as well, or you have Thunderstorm in hand. You can Thunderstorm it. Maybe you play like Wind Earth and can Equal Links it out, so that Gorgon's Gaze doesn't affect it fast enough in most circumstances. And if you feel like they're just setting a bunch of counter runes before you play Penterror, just set up before you play Penterror, because now you have the rest of your opponent doesn't want to get you to. I think Penterror is the biggest part about it is just the threat of it existing and your opponent having to play around it. But since your opponent's playing around it and you already have the threat kind of shown on board, you have the advantage there, and I think that's what makes it a good card.
All right, what if you just didn't play Penterror?
Okay, so now you're in wind.
I just play mind games.
What are you trying to? Yeah.
Well,
You just play Hydrake and Twindra and no Penterror in the deck?
Exactly. Just go like, I crash Hydrake into your Sorlet and drop the Twindra and just pass.
Yep. I mean, you could do that. I think one Penterror in your deck as like the what if scenario in that circumstance is always the better play, but
hey, listen,
then you accidentally side it out. But yeah, I think Penterror, just because if you remove it in the way you want to remove it with Shield of Achilles has to wait for you to attack. And then if you remove it with ability removal, you just fill your board up anyway. Maybe you have an Island of Aeolia out too. Now you have a bunch of like 7s and 5s out.
But like,
so I think there's tons of ways to just play around Penterror when you have it. That just involves, well, they have to deal with that Penterror, and if I know that they can't, my Penterror wins. So I'm just going to play around now that I have the setup, just play around every other answer and just go from there. I think it's a really strong card that way.
But like from a competitive standpoint, if I was playing, let's say I was playing mono red, right? So I have Kinleo, where my etc. The entire shtick, with the exception of like earthquakes, because I'm never running mono red without earthquake. Let's say like I'm playing mono red. Would you feel comfortable coming at me with a Penterror deck?
Yeah. Because again,
I'm actually offended.
Okay, if you're in mono fire with like a splash for, let's say, an earthquake or two or something, then no matter what you do to my Penterror, I'm gonna end up with a big board if it dies to Kinley or whatnot. And then my goal would just be to have like Island in play for when Penterror dies to Kinleo. So now I have a bunch of 7s and 5s in play that you're generally not going to be able to attack over anyway.
Okay, but
a bunch of
7s and 5s. That means that you're going to be ringing stuff out. Let's say like if you fill the board entirely, right? That's another 6 life.
Yeah, it is a lot.
And that means 14, and that's assuming you haven't played anything else, right?
We also haven't mentioned the fact that like you have your shield. I have my shield and a Penterror in play as well. Like, every answer that you say, oh, but I can answer this with Penterror, is like, well, if you have a threat, the only threat you don't have a threat to Penterror with combat.
But
so this is all
assuming that you're going to get the chance to play Penterror, though. I mean, Hydrake and Twindra still have to be destroyed with battle.
Or maybe they don't. Maybe you just get a wide board of stuff out and you just normal it. That's an option too. You play Hydrake, next turn Hydrake, they go, oh, I don't want to attack your Hydrakes, and then you just play Penterror normal ascend. That's still an option.
I was about to leave the call and then I realized I'm the one recording.
You can normal a Penterror and not have to pay 6 for it. Did you forget this?
I just see like Penterror has a lot of like options for mind games, but you definitely need to make sure you know what you're doing when you play. You can't just like put on that helmet and charge forward with it.
No, like
I mean you can. That's the fun way
I don't think you'll do well with it, but
I think like Penterror is going to be a lot like Water is right now, where it's like you'll be able to see like really good players be able to capitalize off the fact that it's unexpected, but like at the same time, a really good player who knows that it's coming, because like it's a best of 3 format or it's a best of 3 game, right? So any good player going into game 2 knows that they're about to be facing down a Penterror, they're going to play around it.
Yeah, no, I think Penterror's
Gorgons.
probably out of all the boss Celestials right now. I think it's probably second best behind Centaur, because it just causes so much board. Like, there's just so much threat behind having it in board.
Okay,
I'm s-
the other day, I think it was KG dropped a Trifernal on me. I lost outright. There was
Yeah,
nothing I could do.
yeah, Trifernal's definitely scary, but at the same time, like
doesn't have any protection.
Trifernal's gonna be just like a more of a combo finisher because Trifernal's more of a win more card. Like, it's hard to answer Trifernal with what's in play, but something like
Laurel's.
Penterror answers Trifernal, Laurel's answers Trifernal.
She keeps going back. How do you get the Penterror on board when you're facing down a Trifernal?
Twindrift.
Twindra's only destroyed by battle.
Is it only destroyed by battle?
Yeah, Hydra and Twindra, Hydrake and Twindra are only when they're destroyed by battle.
Earthquake, and then move on from there.
Yeah.
But
I will
no,
say though,
I think that Penterror, because it has so much threat and it's difficult to properly deal with, is what makes it so strong. Whereas Centaur is just like, I just killed someone with, say, Timber, bam, hit you for 5 with Centaur, and I gotta deal with Centaur, and if you don't, I'm gonna just pop your board for the rest of the game and win. I think that's what makes Centaur strong.
That's fair. That right there is
And
fair.
then you can protect Centaur from Earthquake,
So
basically, and Laurels with Foley.
yeah. I am very happy that they did make the change because the original effect read that when it's destroyed by battle, the Penterror gets to flow into everything. And I read that, I'm like,
destroyed by battle.
yeah, I'm like, it has the highest stat line.
Indeed.
It actually doesn't have bad defense. Who's going to attack over to
Correct.
begin with and not just wait for their answers?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but in the original announcement, didn't he say at the same time as saying, like, the original effect, in the same announcement, say, has the highest attack value of any Celestial?
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but in the same announcement,
I believe
didn't he
so.
say that?
I believe so. It
That
just seemed very counterintuitive to me.
That was
The card literally is not
I was
making
gonna
sense
say
within itself.
Vertakua, but Vertakua would negate it anyway.
Yeah.
Tsunami and you can't even Sorlet it because Sorlet you misenchant you misenchant your Penterror to deal with the Sorlet.
Why not? Give me one good
Yeah.
reason why I don't misenchant Penterror. Give me one
But
good reason.
I think, needless to say, I think Tsunami is being slept on. That card's really good.
Yeah, no, I'll agree.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just
earlier,
anything
literally
gets
right
water.
before this call, I messaged you guys and I was like, "Hey, should I main two Tsunami to
Water.
Leviathan for Tsunami just in case?"
It's a reasonable idea. I think. I mean,
I mean,
I think this is gonna go a little off topic, but I think if you're splashing spirits to, deal with eruption, to deal with tsunami, to deal with Sorlet,
Rice Ross.
like if you say you splash 1 or 2 of every spirit in your deck, all you have to do is whatever deck you're playing against, just expend the spirits that don't help you in that matchup. So you're playing against Thunder Fire,
Yeah,
just get rid of your Leviathan
just knock
right
him.
away, and then you still have your potential Vipyro and Zaptor in the deck to deal with Riceros and Eruption potentially. Like, they can still sit there. You just expend what you don't need first and go from there.
Oh yeah, I was watching Jacob's.
Use those on the
I
dogs.
was watching Jacob's video on Barabog, and I was like, "Oh, this gives me justification to run 2 more to Ratless." And then, like, as an afterthought, I was like, "Could I justify 2 Leviathan?" And then I was like,
Yeah.
"How else am I justifying
I
Leviathan
think
here?" For
I think
Galaxy?
Leviathan Splash is a lot better than Atlas Splash because there's no Earth requirement
No, but
cards
if you
that are
run
gonna hurt you.
if you run 4 to Ratless in your spirit deck, you can justify running 3 Earthquakes.
Yeah, you could. You could also run 2 and just hope that you get Ambrosia for later.
Yeah, but like hoping for the Ambrosia is just I feel bad.
Just tie a
Though there,
Lodogon tribal Ambrosia shenanigans. There you go.
there was this other game. There was this game the other day where I opened 2 Earthquakes and 3 Ambrosia, and I was just like, ha, "You never get to have anything." And my opponent was like, "What?" And I was like, "You're not keeping your board for the rest of this game." And then they sparketed me, and it didn't feel good because they hit one of my Ambrosias, and I was like, "Oh, never mind. You can keep it. I don't care anymore."
We've been putting up Penterror for a bit. You want to move on to the next card, or
Yes.
I have the next one's ready as well. All right, so next one, I skipped over a lot of the full art reveals and such because I did queue up the ones that we have that do have changed effects. They look nice, but I don't think we really need to discuss them. So the next ones I have here are Ignector. which is a 1 Fire Spirit, 1 attack, 2 defense celestial, which reads, when you cast this Ignector, you can search your deck for up to 2 Ignectors and special cast them in attack position with Fire Spirits. When this effect is activated, you must skip your battle phase.
So
let's talk about this one first before I explain.
So, a fun fact about Ignectar: it originally let you special enchant from or special cast from the hand as well. However, KG said he thinks he broke it, and so he can't have nice things anymore.
Yeah, that's like the biggest thing. If you draw 2 of these, it's just I don't think it's a
Feel
feel
bad.
bad card.
Yeah, no, like literally in the video I uploaded today, or the day we're recording this, I drew a Nectar, and I was like, I'll just cast it next turn, and then the next turn I drew Ignectar, and if I hadn't casted Ignectar on that turn, the next card in my deck was Ignectar. And I was like, oh, well, it's a good thing I didn't waste my time.
I mean, this is gonna jump ahead a little bit, but I think Fire in the last few reveals have gotten a lot of really just go wide to go tall later cards. So we got Ignectar and all the bears, which all like to go really wide and then all of a sudden just build up really fast.
Nah,
Which is kind of like
I don't think.
no, because you could just go Ignectar. You drop the Ignectar turn 1. Your opponent can't deal with
Oh,
it.
yeah, I
Now you
agree
can just
with
go to Lazarus or go into Trifernal or go into Majursa.
No, you don't.
There's
do
a lot of
Majursa.
just, like-
Majursa's bad.
like-
We'll get to that, Johnny.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I have like
Majursa's
such
not-
spite. I have such
Majursa's
spite for
not
Majursa.
bad. The fact that all the bears are so small is what makes Majursa not super useful yet.
No, Majursa's
Yeah.
bad because of, like, the bears are so good. Like, the baby bears are so good, but Majursa is so bad. It's like
we save this for when we finally
it's,
talk about
it's
it.
so counterintuitive.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that, Johnny.
But yeah, Ignectar and Waspire, I think are some fun cards. Waspire, I don't think you mentioned, but it's a 5/2 that you can.
Do you want me to read it
disenchant
off now?
Fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me read it off then. Yeah, it's a 2 Fire Spirit, 5 attack, 2 defense celestial, which reads that you can disenchant 1 Fire Spirit from 1 Ignector or Waspire on your field, and if you do, your opponent must expend 2 spirits. So more burn.
Yeah, it's not the best use of your Ignectars. Your Ignectars, I think, are best used to set up to get to a 2 or 3 drop in Fire.
Blazerus or
Yeah.
Triff. I mean,
Yeah.
you could justify
Or even
Kraken.
Mistman.
You could
Yeah,
justify
Krakatuga.
Krakatuga. I mean,
Leonite would be a great one. Like it gets Leonite
Yeah.
out pretty consistently
Just thinking
without
that.
having to splash something. Like it's the way to consistently get something out in Fire. So like in Water you get Tadpuff to get to 2. In Thunder you generally can use Riceros to get to 2. Earth doesn't really get to 2, but Earth doesn't care about the 2 drops right now.
I can
And
honestly.
Wind doesn't care about 2 drops either right now.
I can honestly see a game where you don't even use, or I can see a deck where you don't even use Ignectar to ascend. You just drop it, turn 1, and then deal with whatever they play,
And
and then just go ham. Because you could just
That's
go
what I
ham.
was
You
thinking.
yeah, like I mean,
You
like,
can swarm so easily. You've got
That's
great
why
1
Waspire is
drops.
almost playable because it's like you just attack with a bunch of Nectar Arbitrary and then just go, okay, now I'll just hit you for 1. But
It's an eruption. It's a free eruption.
yeah, but Waspire's stats are so bad.
No, Waspire doesn't matter. You don't need to. I mean, Ignectar.
No, but
like
The Wish Waspire was good. I mean, Nectar's
Waspire-
what a 1/2.
Waspire could have been so good if it just simply said, instead of disenchant, expend. All it needed to say was expend 1
Yeah.
fire instead.
You're giving up board presence because
Yeah.
of it.
Because I mean, like the turn that you play it, what are you like? You can't
Yeah,
use its
Circle the
effects.
Sky to kill a Nectar to do another Ignite. I don't know.
To circle the
use-
sky to deal 2 more damage. What do you circle the sky from? A volcanic forge? Congratulations, you just went -2. Okay, -1 because you get to draw a card off circle the sky. My bad. And what did you do?
Let's go.
You did less than Exaltair. Or you did the same
Yeah.
as Exaltair.
Yeah, but you have to get the spirit on board.
Yeah.
And
It's just
like, yeah, your stats are good, but compared to Exalter for being a 2 spirit, it's like what?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what?
No,
I think the only
Ignactar's
time
definitely just there to be either I'm going super wide trying to go aggro
Yeah.
next turn, or I'm going super wide so you can't deal with everything so I can go tall next turn.
Yeah.
And the more and the better of 3-drop fires we get, or 2-drop fires potentially, the
True,
better
it's more
Ignactar is
realistic.
going to be. Like if we get a 2 fire 1 water like Super Krakatuga that forces 5 expend, you get to that pretty easily turn 2 if you just swarm your board with Ignactar and then sacrifice 2 and ascend with the water to get to that. Like I think the more red or the more fire 3-drops we get, the better and better Ignactar will be. And there's not a ton of ways right now to board wipe or deal with a swarm of things
Yeah.
easily. least not at the moment.
That's what I was thinking. I think Ignactar's Swarm is the real play here, and I don't even think it matters. I was thinking, does your opponent really want to try to remove them? Like use their Laurels, use their Earthquake? No, these are not the only.
Laurels is a fine use.
It's a
'cause
fine
it's
play,
one-to-one.
but let me
Not the
finish.
best, but
I'm gonna
it's
tell
a-
you, if my
Can I
opponent
finish here for a second?
Yeah, go.
Before I do that. The reason I don't like Laurels is why do you really want to use your Laurels on a 1/2 when you might want to save it for their more threatening cards like a Neckruff of Volcaries? That was my thought. You can potentially bait out those removals, so then you can start playing your more threatening cards, and the opponent just has already used the removal for it.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also potential that like if you're Laurelsing their Nectars, it's because you have some other plan set up behind it, and you just want to clear out their board to protect your own play. Like, I mean, if someone plays like 3 Ignectar, and that's the only thing they do for turn, and you have 2 Laurels in hand and like a Sorlet, I don't think it's unreasonable to say Laurels, Sorlet trade, because then they have nothing left on board. You just you used up a lot of cards, you knocked out some of their cards, you're down in card advantage in hand, but you just, if their whole plan was just, I play 3 Ignectars and I have no back row, you want to just get rid of them all because now your opponent probably has nothing to do. So
That's
I
sort
think
of like
there's
a build
reason-
strategy.
Yeah.
I still, because I was thinking more of just to use it for Swarm than more building up for like an aggressive deck. I don't think that's like, it really doesn't put you in a great position regardless. Like I don't think that position is necessarily bad for the opponent, but I also don't think it's great because you just use 2 Laurels.
Yeah.
So, and then moving over to Waspire, I just don't think it's worth it. Like what, maybe to end the game, but ending the game with 2 spirits, not good enough.
The
That's my
only
opinion
thing
on that card.
Waspire will ever see play in with its stat line is just I don't plan on attacking you, burn. This is just a weird fringe, like, I ascend into this to burn you quick off of like, here's my potential, like, this is what you play Waspire for. You have a Krakatuga in play from last turn. You Krakatuga effect. You ascend into Waspire, you disenchant off Waspire, and then eruption them for 8.
All right, so
Like that's the only thing I see Waspire being played in.
while we're in
It's just so low value.
While we're in Magical Christmas Land, no, I'm kidding. I don't know. I just don't think Waspire is going to be good in any. I think Ignectar is going to be relevant. I don't see Ignectar not being relevant. I don't see it being played in like top tier decks just because it does have the downside of skipping your battle phase. But like, it's going to be relevant.
Outside of turn 1 going 1, I don't know. I feel like it's the win rate you're going to see from playing turn 1 going first. You're going to see a huge spike in win rate, but I'm interested to see how your win rate drops as you draw later and later into the game.
Yeah, I think you might put it in the side, and if you lose, or if you know you're going second in the second game, you side it, or if you know you're going first in the second game, you side it in. But like, I don't see it like making huge impacts in the main game 1, for example.
Yeah.
I mean,
If you're going
like an aggro build, maybe, but
if you're going second, it's just bad. Like there's no.
Second like Nectar, yeah, I didn't really. That's really bad because now your opponent is going to have 2 Lustrals in play to deal with all your Nectars off the rip.
Like if you're going
before
second,
you get the chance to
side it
use
out immediately.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't necessarily think you side it out because I mean there is still value in getting a lot of. Does the Nectar force attack position or can
the ones that it's special
attack,
the ones that special cast is attack, the one that you originally play can be in defense.
Could be whatever.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine even if your opponent has an open or empty board just because you have shielded or maybe they have to crouch. I can't imagine.
Definitely not shielding Nectar.
Well, I'm not saying like if your opponent's board is empty, I can't imagine that playing an Ignactar and then skipping your battle phase will feel too good a lot of the time, even later in the game. Like it might be fine, but still that's a loss in tempo.
I think honestly,
your battle phase.
I think personally, if I'm playing Ignactar, which I don't think I will, nothing against it. It's just I don't like going wide. I like going with answers, and I mean, like you saw Summerwinds. Summerwinds is just answers. I don't like going wide. It's like I like having effects, and Ignactar doesn't have an effect. I mean, and it doesn't have attack, and it doesn't have defense, and it isn't relevant outside of special casting more. And the second it's on board, it doesn't do anything except for ascend and attack,
or just attack your opponent for a ton if you're going for swarm.
Yeah. And,
like I've special 3 Tadpuff into play before to attack. But Tadpuff, you can do that because you can attack right away.
Yeah.
You can't do that with Ignactar, which makes it a huge drawback. But at the same time, you can just play 3 Ignactar all at once without you don't have to expend anything additional, right? It's just
Yeah,
to,
you're just
like,
using the
get that
3,
done.
but I mean, you're still
Yeah.
using the
Yeah.
3. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like at that point, I'd rather just play an Aeromare because then it's like it does something, you know?
It potentially lives because it's got 5 defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a body,
Yeah.
and bodies are cool.
I definitely still think Ignector has a lot of potential moving forward, but I
Oh,
think
yeah.
in like set 1 tempo is going to be an aggression. A tempo combined with aggression is going to be something huge.
I think set 2.
And that just doesn't. Ignector's just not tempo.
I think set
outside of
2.
turn 1.
Now that Dan is like so hyper fixated on Ascension, I think set 2 is like honestly gonna have like a lot of Ascension focus. So if that happens, then I definitely think Ignitar is gonna be like busted. But then again,
Ignector's only going.
I could say the
Ignector's
same
only
thing.
going to get better with Ascension.
I could say the same thing for Infrix. I could say the same thing for Tadpuff. I could say the same thing for like so many other cards.
Yeah.
But like, I think going forward, it's only gonna get stronger. Like just outright, it'll only ever get stronger.
The more 2-drop that are like Water X for Tadpuff, the strong. Like Tadpuff's already like solid, but the more Water X or Water cards that we get that are good, Tadpuff's just gonna go slowly like better and better and better.
Oh
Like
yeah, Tadpuff just got a massive
Tartuga,
buff with Barabog. I mean, like
Barabog.
Barabog is like turn 1, play Barabog.
Well,
You
I've
have to
been
out
messing
it.
around with a no attack aggro deck, and like Tadpuff is like, I wish I could run 6 of these because I'm trying to go into Barabog, Krakatuga, and I have 1 Waspire for the Dream into Krakatuga, Ascend into Waspire, hit you for 8 on turn 2. Because the Magical Christmas Slam of that deck, right, is turn 1, Krakatuga with Tadpuff, and hit you in the face for 3 with Krakatuga. Then the next turn is to Krakatuga's ability again, Ascend into Waspire, Disenchant for another 2, so that's 5, plus Eruption. I just hit you for 11 in 2 turns without attacking.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Hilarious.
I'm trying to make it work, and I will attempt to keep on doing so, because it seems like a really fun archetype. But Tadpuff is just making that deck actually feasible.
Yeah.
I wish I had more Tadpuffs.
Yeah.
Tadpuff is just so good at doing like just like the thing it needs to do.
For sure. All right, are you ready to move on to the next reveal?
Yes,
I mean, we
sir.
talked a lot, but okay. So the next one was the Stellar Sluggle reveal, which is of note because we got the change for the card effect. It is a 1 Water Spirit, 2 attack, now 2 defense, Celestial that reads, when the Sluggle is cast, you may move up to 3 Water Spirits from your Underworld to your Spirit deck. So huge buff for this card.
It didn't
Yeah.
need the defense decrease. It did not
No.
need the defense decrease. I will
I
stick
don't
by
think it
this.
needs either.
I will
But
stick
I-
by this until the day I die. I get that it's because Galaxy will make it a 2/4 that recovers you 3, or make it a 4/2 that recovers you 3, but that does not matter.
Yeah, so
Water
I don't
needed
think
something.
I've ever played a Sluggle in defense and had it live anyway.
Yeah.
But I understand why you put, when you're balancing a card, giving it kind of 2 buffs in a sense. So now it's on special and normal, and it's 1 more. I understand why you want to drop the defense back on it just in case, because Water likes the high defense stats with like Galaxy and stuff. So I think it's a nice little safety valve on the card, because it's definitely going to see a ton of play with how it is, and also with the Capricorn change. So I think it's a good safety valve to drop his defense down a little bit. And it doesn't have a ton of impact, but it could have impact, and I think that's why it's got changed.
And it's like still good as it is, I think, because you're really playing for the recovery. How I viewed this card was before, it had mediocre stat lines with a mediocre effect, which just made it not a good card. But now it really honed into that recovery. So even though it lost out on the stats, doesn't matter because it just does recovery so well and synergizes so much better with what some of the water package.
It's an extra Water Ambrosia. It's just everyone plays Ambrosia. Everyone's going to play Sluggle and Water. If not in the main deck, it's going to be a sideboard 3 of, like, for certain matchups, I think.
Yeah.
They can recover 18 life, not counting the card that we're about to go over with Capricorn.
Yep. Do you want to just discuss Capricorn now, since we're kind of on the topic?
Might as well.
Okay. So Capricorn has had an update. Instead of it being 8 attack, 5 defense, it's now 7 attack, 4 defense, still 2 water. And it now reads, when this Capricorn destroys an opponent's Celestial in battle, you can special cast a 1 Spirit Water Celestial from your Underworld in attack position. So removing that foaming restrict.
You forgot to go over the Sluggle. It's no longer on normal cast. It is on normal and special cast. So
Yeah,
it's just
And
on
that's
cast,
even more note with this one as well.
Yes.
Words did mention it.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry, I spaced out.
You're good.
Yeah,
I took off
RIP
my
Foamy
glasses and it's,
Army.
Hard to focus on my glasses on.
Yep.
RIP the Foamy Army, but like Capricorn causing Army is still out there as a strategy.
Yeah.
I still think foamy's fine.
I mean, but now,
Better
like,
ones.
okay, so now that Capricorn can hit any 1 water, what are you getting with it?
Sluggle.
What else?
Typhlant.
Oh.
Oh, Typhlant's a good one. I forgot about Typhlant.
Yeah,
We'll get to that in a
Typhlant.
second.
Krakking. Or Krakking.
Krakking's
You
Krakking.
can't-
Krakking.
Kraken, I still have my reservation.
Because
Like I love Kraken.
depending
I have
on
my
what their
reservation done.
depending on their board state, Kraken could be good. I think you only play Kraken as a 1 or 2 of because you can search it out with Foamy. But like, I think Kraken has potential. I think it's like Carry On. It's a tech. It's not a card you
Yep.
put in the deck. It's a tech.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Station still would be pretty high friction. Just be able
Yeah.
to flip the attack stat as well.
It's 1/6.
Well, you wouldn't be able to flip it immediately if you're like, because I think part of the thing that makes Capital so strong is it brings it into attack position.
Yeah.
So you
Well,
can start, you can continue to attack with some more stuff or hit directly with whatever you bring in.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that's for with like your punches up enough of a Lestral on board, and you could just make
Yeah.
it really obnoxious to deal with it.
Real
The
quick,
following turn.
can I say a disclaimer real quick?
Go
If
for it.
if you guys need ruling questions, ping me. But if you guys haven't read the card, don't ping me, please and thank you. They said so I can activate. I said I can activate Mustachian at any time, any period. I was like, when your opponent special casts, and you can, or how
it originally said when your opponent casts.
Casts,
The
yeah.
updated text from the station is when your opponent normal cast, you can respond to it with this ability.
So as a question, before you ping me with the question, or as a disclaimer, before you ping me with the question, I will mock you relentlessly going forward. If you ask me a question and the answer is on the fucking card.
Oh my god.
Okay, I think we should just say as a
That
blanket
goes well.
question before you ask a ruling question, just try reading out loud to yourself and see if you can answer it yourself. I think that's just a good practice for really any TCG player in general.
I was at work and I had like a line of like 4 customers and I got pinged and I was like, I gotta take this text message. It's really important. I opened it up and I was like, I'm literally gonna kill No Brainer.
It is a little weird at the moment because we have like 2, 3, maybe even 4 versions. I haven't got it of cards right now, and people have the cards in paper prototypes, which we're playing as is in the moment.
Yeah.
There's updated versions of the cards. There's versions of the cards with different text, but they do the same thing. So I understand where there's confusion when someone might be reading a card, look up the card, let's say on Discord or on Twitter, and see something different and go, but how does it work?
But the you
Yeah.
can.
So I understand where it gets confusing.
But the you can and the when your opponent, those two are like literally synonymous terms at this point. Like it's just you should know.
Yeah.
So
That one in extreme case.
while we're having
Yeah,
this
yeah.
conversation, let me clarify. You can means that you can activate this effect once per turn during
Before
your
you
main
attack.
phase. During your
One
main
end.
phase. Words is a judge. Words, is that correct?
Allegedly, I'm a judge. At least for the first tournament, I'm a judge. I have a brilliant, lovely yellow name in Discord.
Words, is that correct? You can once per turn during the main phase.
Yeah.
All
During
right.
the main phase, once per turn, as of right now. There are some rules that have gotten adjusted, so I don't want to say, yes, this is the case. But as of right now, as of 11/5/2022, when it's a you can, it is once per turn during your main phase only, and end of story.
And then win is when the specified action occurs. You can activate the effect an infinite amount of times equal to the specified amount of times the action occurs. So
Yep.
if my opponent plays an Ambrosia, I somehow play an Ambrosia. They play 2 more Ambrosias and I play 2 more Ambrosias. Drataya will allow me to draw 2 cards for each of those, drawing me 12 cards.
As long as Drataya is properly enchanted, the when effect on Drataya can trigger multiple times. So go ahead and make your deck with 3 Nogs, 3 Ambrosias, and get 2 Dratayas in play and draw your whole deck and concede to the mill deck. Anyway.
So just to clarify those rulings right here. Please don't ping me. Please don't ping me with those questions again. It's better than the DMs, dude. I can't even go over the DM.
But we're getting off topic.
Yes.
Yeah,
Why
we're
don't we
off
move on to
topic.
the next card?
Okay, so just wrap up on Capricorn. We think even with the loss of stats, just the utility will make it really
Yeah,
great
it's-
going
Yeah,
forward.
yeah,
7
yeah.
is still a
Great.
great stat line. 7, I think, is the great.
It ties
Seven-
with Sonicore. It ties with
7 is
Leonite.
the good part of 2 drops. 6 is the terrible part
Yeah.
of 2 drops. Why does Waspy have 5?
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
just don't be stupid and cast Galaxy off of your
No, don't do that.
Because
Don't do
Yeah.
that.
now you suddenly
Anything
die
else.
to Necroth. Now you die to
And
Necroth, and like
I
that's
think
just,
that card's going to.
Galaxy and Capricorn don't go in the same deck.
they do not. They never will. They never should.
I'm excited to see the skill with people though.
Unless you're
Just knowing what to
trolling.
cast. Yeah.
You're playing anti-synergy the deck.
Anti-synergy deck.
Just throw
Actually-
your opponent confused until
Ru-
until they can see.
Run Glydesdale without Aeromare.
I mean, it's not terrible, but yeah,
Bruh, without Aeromare.
that Aeromare feels real bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's our card after Capricorn?
One thing. I want to make one quick note because you mentioned the stat line with 2 Spirit Alestrals. I want to get your two's opinion on it before we continue analyzing cards. With 2 Spirit Alestrals, I don't think it's necessarily fair to compare 2 Spirits to 2 Spirits all the time. I still think it's worthwhile to note, but I think it's less important than comparing the 1 Spirit of attacks to each other. The important thing for 2 Spirits that can attack over 1 Spirit and not be easily answered by 1 Spirit.
Yeah,
That's
no,
fair.
comparing 2 to 1 would be fine. I mean, like going like, okay, well, Leonite can attack over a 1 Spirit, so it's good. But
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. But I mean, you can't compare Twindra to Leonite, for example, because they're
Yeah. Oh.
2 different functions. So
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Going
I think
back,
it's important.
Going back to
Precedence.
Penterror real quick, I just realized something. Glydesdale equipped with a
Anyway, the next card.
Necklace of Harmonia outs Penterror.
I mean, sure. Let me just spend 5 spirits to knock out your Penterror.
Hey, listen, you have a better idea.
Yeah.
How do you attack
And
over
Penterror.
Penterror?
Hold on, let me go get my paper shredder real quick.
anything that outs. Listen, man. Anything that outs Penterror by battle is automatically good. Glydesdale meta confirmed. Just saying.
I think Glysdale's. I still think Glysdale is a good card. It should see more play, especially with the Aeromare change, so you're not restricted to the Aeromare.
I think Glydesdale has a
But-
very unique niche now. I think it's actually
It's a
playable.
build your own
I don't
ball
think it's-
celestial.
I don't
Wait,
think
wait,
it's
okay.
bad. I think it's playable.
Before you guys continue, I do have Aeromare and Glysdale queued up, so let's talk about them next.
Okay,
Alright,
okay.
So let me read them. So Aeromare is still a 4/5 or 4 attack 5 defense celestial for 1 wind, but it now reads that when this Aeromare is used to ascend, you can cast it as an artifact and the ascension with the effect empowered celestial cannot be targeted or destroyed by your celestrial's effects. So it no longer is restricted to Glydesdale here, and I believe that got a better resist effect.
Real quick to talk about
Yeah.
Aeromare real quick, because I do want to clarify something. You do have to properly enchant your Aeromare first.
Yes.
You cannot misenchant Aeromare and then ascend into something and then still use Aeromare's effect. You do have to enchant Aeromare with the Wind Celestial. You cannot misenchant with like Vampyro to play around Eruption and then go like, okay, well now I'm going to ascend into Blazerous, for example. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So,
And the logic behind that is Aeromare wouldn't have an effect when you declared ascension.
exactly.
Yep.
There you go.
Exactly.
So
But it's nice that it now works for everything. And Aeromare's honestly, the fact that Aeromare's still 4/5 with that ability makes it
Yes.
like really, really strong. Like a 4/5 is the highest total stat value of any
For
one
one
drop
spirit.
in the game.
I'm gonna be
It was
the,
literally
Which
just
already
run.
makes it useful.
I'm gonna be
And
the
now it's got a good ability to boot.
I'm
Throw any
gonna
spirit on it or a stadium.
I'm gonna be the negative one here, and I'm gonna say it's really bad. I'm gonna say you don't play it for its effect still. I'm gonna say its effect isn't even good in this scenario. So, because what are you ascending into?
Yeah, that's my question.
Like you're
Yeah.
ascending into Saracoon? You're
No,
ascending. You're
Fowlicane's
ascending
a good
into
option.
Fowlicane.
Falcon's a great option to ascend
Yeah, no,
to.
Fowlicane's a great option, but it's still a 7 body.
Glysdale with the changes is a great option
with-
to ascend into.
With Harmonia coming out, I really see Harmonia seeing a lot of play. I don't see every deck playing it, obviously, but I see it seeing
Yep.
a lot of play because it is that 5 power. It is that extra boost needed to get over Leonite, Sonicore. It's that extra power to get over problem cards. So I just knowing that Necklace of Harmonia is going to come, it's like
Yep.
Fowlicane suddenly seems a lot less powerful
But I
because
think-
now every single one of my 3 drops outs Fowlicane. Or every single one of
Yeah.
my 3 costs, 3 attack drops.
But with
outs Fowlicane.
Falcon, you also just knock out all their back row if they have it, and that's I think the real power of Falcon is just Falcon is I have a deck where it's okay, I have no back row, Falcon, 1 cost, blow everything up.
Yeah, but
It's the only board wipe we have right now
If
that
you know-
actually destroys everything in a zone.
if you know you're playing against wind though, you're not gonna drop back row willy nilly. I mean, like, I wouldn't. I mean, I mean,
I mean, sometimes you have to. Like, what if you guys are in an attrition war where you're both kind of stuck, where you can't quite break each other's boards, but you need to have set up to defend yourself? Like, you have like a Penterror staring down like a Trifernal with I don't know, Scythe of Demeter on it, so they're equal, and you just kind of have this attrition war where you don't want to attack into each other, but you can't really do anything. Like,
wait,
you
so
might have
you're gonna
those.
send over your Penterror with a Fowlicane?
No,
is it
you might have
Fowlicane a
another way to get it out.
Is it Fowlicane
I'm
a
saying
7
if you're-
tier? Why
no.
wouldn't I just attack with Trifernal then?
I'm saying you're in an attrition war because maybe they have back row behind the Penterror. If you're in an attrition
Wait.
war and you just want to just blow up the board, like, it's an option.
Why is it?
It
Wait,
doesn't need to be run out.
but about Fowlicane,
Well, that
like,
come up.
what? Wait, isn't Fowlicane a 7-2 or a 7-3?
Saying you play Fowlicane to blow up the back row to open up things, etc.
Yeah, but
like,
but Trif would kill it.
after the fact, but then you'd have your back row and they won't have theirs, and then you could work on something else.
No, because if Fowlicane's not on cast, it's a you can ability. Trif is on cast, so Trif would activate before they'd have the ability to activate Fowlicane.
Oh no, that's fair. Okay, some other big drop. They have a giant Majesty in play. The point is, I'm trying to create.
Well,
a
then
scenario
how are
where-
you outing the magic? No, kidding.
No, I'm saying if you have a scenario where you have this attrition war, where you have to set back row to keep your stuff alive, and they have to set back row to keep their stuff alive, which has happened in a couple control matchups with my ketchup and mustard deck and stuff like that. Like, you drop a Fowlicane and blow up the back row, you now have so much advantage. So I think
You guys are gonna kill me, but I forgot to hit record.
Did you actually?
No.
Okay, we're good.
there are very good niches where, like, you can say, oh, I'm not going to play back row because they're playing wind, but there are times where you just have to.
Yeah, but you can't dump it all. I mean, one way or the other, regardless of what
No.
you're playing against, you can't dump it all.
No,
I mean-
but still, Fowlicane could you play Fowlicane, expend one to destroy their back row, and it's one card. Expending one to destroy a back row card is very good value.
Two
No,
is
you
your opponent's runes.
Choose opponents, but
if you
your
have no
main
runes,
phase,
yeah.
it's your main phase. You Fowlicane, blow up the back row, then you set.
Let's assume you haven't set already. Because if you're in a nutrition
Right.
war, your own
So-
argument says that you set all your back row.
So I'm just going to point
Yeah,
out this
then you
all
said
started
too.
from Aeromare and now just a Fowlicane discussion.
You know, fuck Aeromare, we're having an
It's all
actual
in the
conversation. We're an
It's all
hour
in
into
the
this,
same.
I can cuss,
So-
okay?
So I think my review on Aeromare is right now, I don't see many uses for its Ascension effect, maybe outside like a Glysdale thing, but I do see it's nice for Wind to have moving forward as we get more Ascensions that might
It's a
like this
huge
protection
body.
effect.
Yeah.
It's just a
And
huge
it's huge.
body.
Right now it's huge body, but then just that protection effect moving forward.
It just says,
I think it's nice.
against fire, wind, it says, okay, I'm going to go sit in defense mode. See you later. Against earth, it says, oh, I can match your Rumma Gem. I can match your Tectorus on a 1. I can match basically every earth 1 drop.
Take Taurus on a 2.
Attack. Well, for
Not-
Tectorus, it would match for a little bit. But
For its
like,
defense, yeah. They'd match for a 2 on the Take Taurus.
I'm saying Tectorus, you play a Tectorus on 1, it's a 4 attack.
Yeah,
And then
but
you just-
if it's in defense, then it's a...
So I think Aeromare just, as a 4/5, like if Aeromare was a 4/5 no text, which it almost is, it can still see play.
It is
Yeah,
a 4/5
sure.
note. It is a 4/5 note.
With an effect that
With
might
almost
see
no
play later
text.
on.
I will tell you, odds are I will never cast an Aeromare with a Wind Spirit unless
Like-
that's all I have left.
For like an island up.
Yeah, but I think existing as a 4/5 is just good on its own.
Yeah.
If it existed as a 5/5 with no abilities, it would see play in so many decks. People just misenchant it every single time whenever they need a 5-drop.
Yep.
But I think Aeromare is a solid card, and I think Glysdale with Aeromare is insanely strong. It's just
Let me read the
not
effect.
super consistent. I've tried to run that even before the buffs, and getting
Yeah.
both out consistently is too difficult. But when it happens, man, is it fun! Especially now with the double attack on.
Yeah, let me actually read
Glysdale?
that. I don't think I've read it yet. So it's a 7 attack, 5 defense, which is actually pretty good defense. Couldn't get swirled
It's
to begin
alright.
with, but still. Against 1-drops. But 2 wind spirits, and it reads you can expend a wind to increase this Glysdale attack by 5 to the end phase. The end phase, that remains the same. And now it reads, if Glysdale is empowered by Aeromare, it can attack twice. So the Blazer's Claws, but conditional.
All right. So as an argument for, I do want to go over a card that's going to be like later on. As an argument for why Glysdale defense is so good is Altar of the Stars. So we're gonna Altar of the Stars is one. It's a counter. It's a counter rune, and it's one spirit. Costs one spirit. You can Nexus one up to one, or is it two?
Up to one.
Up to one spirit on the board onto a different Celestial, and then change the position of another Celestial on board. So if your opponent goes like Aeromare, goes to play Aeromare to empower Glysdale. In response to them activating Aeromare's effect, you can activate Altar of the Stars to switch the battle positions of Glysdale. So in that case, it's on the stack before, so it resolves first before the Aeromare is equipped, meaning that Aeromare or Glysdale does have its battle position switch. In which case, you can then proceed to attack into it. But as Jacob just said, it has a 5 defense body, so that's why the 5 defense is relevant. So
I think we're seeing a lot more reasons to actually run the stadiums with like how important those 1 stat points are on some cards
in certain decks.
Yeah. If you're playing a wind deck and you're trying to get into Glysdale, I think you're playing Island, because Island of Aeolia plus Aeromare, you have a 5/6.
Yeah.
And that's dirty.
Or if you're playing Penterror, I think you're still playing the I don't like playing Island in Penterror, but I think you still play it because it makes it to where Penterror is even so much more harder to out. Like,
yeah, because if you boom at it, here's all my 5s and 7s.
Going back to the argument of Necklace of Harmonia, because I can never understate how powerful Necklace of Harmonia is. Right? Is it becomes so much harder to out even with the Harmonia, right? Because suddenly Triff still ties for it, right? Because it's Triff would be 18 and Island
14 attack. You go to 19.
Triff is 14. Okay.
Yeah. I keep saying like I should be 13.
Oh.
It makes more sense, and it's 14.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's 14.
It's 14. I'm pretty sure.
It should be
because I remember I'm really pissed at it being 14.
It should be a 66 attack and 6 defense. I don't know what's going on.
That wouldn't make much of a difference. 66 and 15 is like
the same number.
The same number.
Jacob just going like, Jesus Christ, why do I
we talked about win for time.
Yeah.
We keep going with Penterror. What's our next card?
Yeah. What's final thoughts on Glysdale? Just a bit hard to get out, but super fun if you do.
Before the Glysdale buff, I was already talking about how Glysdale could be relevant because of the Rummagem, right? Because suddenly, 4 Tektoros, right, would suddenly be outable by Glysdale without trading. So I'd already been talking about how I thought Glysdale would become somewhat more relevant with the Glysdale buff. I think it's even more relevant, but I don't see you realistically being able to play it.
Yeah, I'd rather just run Fowlicane over
Counter-Rams.
Yeah, in every situation, you just run Fowlicane,
Yeah, fun deck, though. Okay, next reveal, though. So, speaking of Earth, we have Oystress here. Really great card for Earth, in my opinion. It is a 1 Earth Spirit, 4 attack, 2 defense Celestial that reads, this Oystress gains 1 attack for every Oystress on the field. When this Oystress destroys an Celestial in battle, you can special cast a Oystress from your hand or deck to your field and defense position. And right away, I want to say, finally, Earth has a card that can hit 5 attack by itself with no other cards to assist it. That right away makes it great.
Unless you Gorgons it, and then all of a sudden it's a 4 attack, which I think is funny.
But like Gorgon, you're using 2 spirits for Gorgon's case.
Yeah, no, you are. But I think Johnny's like about to scream my door.
Yeah, I know. I'm waiting for Johnny.
But I think Oystress is really strong, and with the card Johnny mentioned that we'll hopefully get to later, Altar of the Stars, you can crash. You can not necessarily crash, but you attack something, destroy it, get your defense Oystress into play, swap it into attack with your own Altar, and get another Oystress, and all of a sudden you have a bunch of 7 attacks in play.
Crazy.
And then you have Foley in play, and now they're like 8 attack, like kind of scary.
Yeah.
Coming in defense feels bad, but if they all came into attack, it would be like, imagine if they all came to attack and your opponent did a Nectar and their first turn has 3 Nectar, you just go Oystress. I have a bunch of 8 attacks in play now. Good luck.
Yeah, that'd be too good.
So I think defense is a good floodgate for it in a sense. Not floodgate, but
you can always choose not to use it if you really feel like it's not going to be beneficial to you. But I still think you use it just to try to protect it if your opponent doesn't have other outs other than just attacking.
Yeah. All right, Johnny,
Or
what are you
wait.
about to scream?
Yeah, I say Johnny.
You want to scream to the heavens.
Dan blew this card out of proportion. It's not that good.
It doesn't need to be good, but I don't.
Dan,
It does what it needs to
Dan,
for Earth.
Dan built this card up, and he was like, "This is the best card. Every deck is running IDOLO. Every card is running IDOLO.
Because-
every deck is IDOLO is a staple. It's going in every single deck. Every deck is gonna play IDOLO. I see it in every single deck. I've played against IDOLO 3 times now, and only 1 time has it ever done what IDOLO does.
If it came into play in attack position,
I agree.
like
I
the
agree.
stellar, like did you read the stellar version of the card on the reveal video?
No.
It says attack position.
Wait, are you serious? Did Dan forget to change the text?
On
Well, I'm
the
looking at
stellar
the-
version of it, which is probably an older version of
Wait,
the card.
is Celestial's pay to win confirmed?
So on the Twitter
stellar
reveal
version-
video, it reads correct.
So you guys just want to hand me the originals trophy, or like,
So,
is this
on the
like,
stellar
or do I still have to earn it?
on the stellar prototype, it says attack position. If this card did what it does and brought them into attack position, it would be busted.
Yeah.
It would just destroy every single deck that. So we already know the game's very focused around the one drop right now,
I mean, while we're
and
talking,
it would be the strongest one drop.
if
great
while
time.
we're
By
talking
miles.
about cards that make the game busted, hey guys, let's talk about Drops of Lethes, which is a card we're not even going to go over because it's confirmed to
going
have
to
a different
change.
effect. I mean, like we're not
Card
even going to talk about it.
destruction.
So while we're talking about cards that make the game stupidly busted, here's a card destruction. Hey
On
guys,
one.
on one.
Yeah.
One.
If it was on
That is
three-
arguably worse than Titanostalk because now I know cards that you don't have access to.
All right. Quick side note. Card destruction in Yu-Gi-Oh is both players discard their hand and draw cards equal to the cards they discarded. It's a really good card because you can cycle through a bunch of stuff. You can mill your opponent with it. You can ruin your opponent's opening hand with it, etc. Dan originally spoiled it at 1 cost. If it's a 1 cost card destruction effect, it is insanely broken because it's basically 1 cost draw 4 and disrupt your opponent's hand, which is like there's a reason card destruction got like limited and banned. I don't know if it ever got banned in Yu-Gi-Oh. I know it got
I think
limited.
it's
No,
been
I did.
limited. I think it's been limited to 1 for most of its lifespan. I think there might
Yeah.
have.
I
Been,
don't think it ever got hard banned.
There might
but
have been a
no one really-
list where it was banned, but it wouldn't have been more than 1 to 2 lists. So
Yeah.
I
But
don't think it's been banned.
It's a really now, if it was on a 3 cost, because again we can't make 1-to-1 comparisons to Yu-Gi-Oh because we have a actual cost system in Elestrals. If it was like a 3 cost, I think it would be okay at 3 cost because now if you want to just do 3 of those back to back, you just spend half your life.
Hold on. You say that I can't go over that. I can't talk about that. Everyone.
I think
wanna
that 3 cost card destruction effect would be okay. It would be very strong, but it wouldn't be as broken as 1 cost do this because at 1
Yeah.
cost do that you see potentially a quarter to a third of your deck on with 1 cost if you chain them together. And if you're chaining them together because you're drawing so many cards and you're looking for that one specific outer combo piece, it's really strong. But at 3, I see it being reasonable because at 3, it's expensive. You try to run it with some Nogs. If you do 2 Nogs and 3 of those in a turn to do some crazy combo, you just spent 15 life. Almost. Like, that's a lot, and that's expensive. But at 1 cost, it was too strong.
Or you just play Humming Bust, Lethes, Nog. Congratulations, your opponent has no cards left in deck. It's first turn. GG's, mate. Pick up your deck and go away. Glad that we're playing Cannon Soldier FTK. I mean,
And then
I sat down to play this game, and gee willikers, Mr. I got to play it. And you know what? If you don't draw your Humming Bust on the first turn, it doesn't even matter because Drops of Lethes will get you there. And that's all you need is that Drops of Lethes.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it costed 3, it wouldn't be as such a big deal. Because if you were to do that Humbus and drops was 3, you're at 2 spirits. So if your opponent survives that combo with like 3 cards left in deck, and they have a way to deal 2 damage to you, you lose.
No, because you just need you mull until you have Drops in hand and Humming Bust in hand, because you can mull, and all you need to do is make sure that you have 10 spirits. And you win the game. You can mull 5 times without
how
any
much-
punishment.
I mean, we're skipping ahead to Humbust now,
Jeez.
but just to clarify, Humbust is what like a 2/3. Whenever a player plays an artifact, your opponent's
Yeah. Whenever
mill
an opponent plays a rune,
Let me find it.
when either player plays a rune, they mill 2.
Where's it?
Your opponent mills 2 when either player plays a rune.
So it's a 1 attack, 2 defense, 1 fire. When either player casts a rune, your opponent must move the top 2 cards of their deck to the underworld.
Yeah. So if someone's on turn 1, Magic Christmas Land, they play Humbust. They play Drop Celestia, that's 2. So they're playing, you said 3 knobs.
Okay,
you
so
drop?
you draw 5 cards. You draw 5 cards, right?
Yeah,
At the start of the
so
game. Let these discards those 5 cards. You draw 5 cards. Then you build 2 off of Humming Bust. That's 12.
Well, yeah. So let me do the math easier. So 3 Lethies is 15 cards.
Plus the 5 that you originally draw, so 20.
So 20 cards. 3 Nogs is going to be another 6 cards for your opponent. That's 26.
Plus 6 cards for the Humming Bust off of Lethies. So that's 32.
Yeah, I'm getting there. So that's 32. So your opponent has 8 cards to deal with that, and you just spent 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yeah, you have to have 10 spirits. But if you have 10 spirits, because you mulled 5 times to get Humbust,
You only need Humbust
0,
and drops.
and your opponent has 8 cards to kill you with, which is still
you need to do is have
20% of the deck.
You just need Humbust. And look at all the cards they don't have access to anymore. There's 30 cards in their discard pile. 32 cards. No, yeah, 32.
And they have 20 spirits. So you know what? They're going to just rise from a Trifernal and go pop.
Congratulations! There's another 2 cards milled! I see this as an absolute win!
So for a card we're not going to talk about, we just
tried
to talk about.
But yeah, I think Humbust is a good card at 2. If Humbust with Drops of Lethies existed, it would be very strong. If Drops of Lethies at 3 plus Humbust existed, it would be still good. It wouldn't be broken because it would cost a ton of spirits. So if you get hit early before you can pop off, you would die to it.
And as a reminder, Drops of Lethies is not actually going to be talked about in this podcast.
Yeah. No, I think it's relevant. I think it's relevant to talk about cards before they're nerfed and why they needed the nerf or why they needed the change.
Can we skip whatever card Can we skip whatever card we were originally having a conversation about and skip to the card that everybody needs to scream about? Because like I hate this card.
Can we get final thoughts on both Viserys and Humbust? Because we start with Viserys, we introduce Humbust.
Viserys is a cool card. It will be played in every single Earth deck, but it is nowhere near as powerful as Dan originally thought it would be.
Not at all.
Because it got nerfed before he announced it. That's why.
Yep.
Yeah, if he nerfed it before, even then, I still don't think that it would be as powerful as he might have thought, because you can still Laurels it, and then it's a 5-body.
Yeah,
I mean,
I still think just having a 5-body for Earth is huge.
Yeah, I think it's like a B plus A minus where it's at right now. If it had the attack, it'd be an S.
Yeah.
Yep.
It'd be an A. It'd be an A plus. It'd be close to S. Because I still think that it's too outable.
I think Humbust as is currently is like a solid like B plus A because
I think Humbust is.
There's not a ton of mill support yet. I think a little bit more mill support will give it that A rating.
I think
at
it's
2 cards, it's solid, but it's gonna die to everything. So if you can't full combo, it's not gonna do much.
I think it's an A, but mostly just because like you can throw it on the board at any point, and 9 times out of 10 you're hitting 2 to 4 cards.
You can also be denying your opponent activating some runes next turn that they may.
Just don't play against water because water has reanimation effects.
Yeah, and don't play against any deck playing Rise from. Don't play against Earth that has Jaraflora. Don't play against
Jaraflora's not going to see play.
Don't play against Fire because they have Infrix. Don't play. It's like
yeah.
Hear me out with Humbust here. If your opponent has to use their Ambrosias and you have them at low spirits, drop Humbust. Tell your opponent either you mill some or don't use your Ambrosias, and then just go Infrix into Waspire, burn them for the rest. For Eruption, that's an easier way to do it.
It's just mill 2 is not crazy strong, but repeated mill 2 is very nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you also have to chain runes. Now it's both players, so if your opponent casts runes to deal with it, but 2 is not a lot. For this card to really see play, it's going to see play in a deck that is trying to do super heavy control, like it's going to be, I think, really good as a sideboard in a control versus control like rune deck. Like if you play like Axiom's rune control deck and against Axiom's rune control deck, and you have Humbust in your sideboard to bring against theirs, you're going to win the game because you're going to mill them out because they're only like ways to affect you are runes, and then they're going to. But
We just need more
What's hey
be actualized.
what's that Dragon Claw card in Magic that automatically wins you the burn in your match?
which card?
The Dragon Claw, wherever a player casts a red spell, you gain 2 life or something like that.
Oh,
It's similar to that.
Yeah.
It's just like straight up with a counter for the mirror match.
well,
It's like Galaxy.
yeah.
Sorry, that was nobody.
But it's I think it's a Humbust is a solid card. It's gonna see if again
Sets
like
good
rune
precedence.
control decks become super valuable. It's gonna see some sideboard play, and right now I don't think there's enough mill support to really make it super viable mill deck. But if you get 2 out for whatever reason, you probably win the game if you can combo with it.
If you somehow get 2 out,
It's
dude,
really
just
hard to
win
get
the
2
game.
out.
I mean,
It's
like
It's really
happy
hard to get
exists.
you
2
can
out with
shield
one
if
body.
they play Nectar. I mean,
I'm happy it exists moving forward.
All right,
I think
what's your next
it's a good
card?
effect. All right,
Yeah.
so are we going next card, or do you want to talk about some of the
let's talk
broken
about
cards?
the actual card that like everybody probably wants to hear all 3 of us yell at about because we all have the same opinion on it.
Okay, so this will probably be a quick discussion, but we'll get it out there. Titanostalk. It is a one Spirit Earth Celestial with 2 attack, 5 defense that reads, as long as this Titanostalk is enchanted, your opponent must play with their hand revealed at all times.
Yeah, the errata text is it just says you basically win the game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, the Oracle text is if you are good at the game, flip your opponent off, call the judge, and report
You
them for
don't
timer
even
stalling,
be good at
because
the
they should have already
game.
fucking signed that slip, okay?
You don't even
Why
have to be
make-
good at the game for it to be strong. Like giving
Well,
yourself
no, okay.
perfect information is so
Yeah.
strong.
Because
Why make predictions when you just know?
if you're, because you still have to play. You still have to play the game.
Your opponent could concede.
You still have to play the game. I mean,
Yeah.
and you can play around the Shield of Achilles if you know it's there. But if you don't know how to play around the Shield of Achilles, then
Turn 1.
yeah, no, I mean like in general, like if you can play around
Yeah.
the Shield of Achilles, if you know the Shield of Achilles is there and you don't play around it or you don't know how to play around it, you lose. I mean,
I think we should break the card down a little bit. So why is knowing your opponent's hand a really strong effect? On one. We'll just say with a 1 cost. And because if you know your opponent's entire opening hand, because we only have 1 main phase in this game, that means before your opponent can potentially attack into it, you can see what they
their
set
draw.
on the board. You can
see
see
their
what they
draw.
draw. You know what outs they have to what's in your hand because your hand's still hidden information. And you basically just you can make the quote unquote perfect play for the time because you know what's in their hand.
As long as Titanostalk is
An
alive,
example of this is there's a lot of streamers who play TCGs who get stream sniped. And when you get stream sniped playing a TCG, if your opponent knows your hand, you can tell when your opponent knows your hand because of how well they're playing versus exactly what you have in your hand. It's a really strong effect. And because we only have 1 main phase, it's even stronger in this game because now your opponent can't go deal with it, main phase 2, set everything up, pass turn. Now you don't know what I put down because one of the ways you protect your back row, if you need to place back row cards, is bluff a bunch of back row. And you don't care what they bluff because you know that card is shield, that card is Poseidon, that card is Ambrosia face down.
and to be clear as to why you can't go like, oh, set 4 and then shuffle them up while they're face down, you have to set them 1 at a time
They
in
know
a
it's on that
specific
hand.
zone. And if your opponent plays Titanostalk, they will shark you. If they're playing Titanostalk, they want to win. They don't give a shit about you having fun. I mean,
Yeah.
if my opponent looks at me and they're like, "Hey, let's have a fun game," and I'm looking at a Titanostalk in hand, I'm just gonna be like, "No."
Yep.
Yeah.
So on its own, the effect to look at your hand can exist perfectly fine. But the fact that it's on a strong body.
It is
yes,
a 5 defense.
5 defense. It's so good.
It's in the biggest part. I don't care if Water had this effect. If Water had this effect, I would just be like, Water got a good card. Congratulations. But the fact that it's an Earth, the most versatile, has the least amount of restrictions, is the only deck you can play mono without having to like actually think about your plays for more than half a second, right? It is the single best mono deck in the format. And then you're like, hey, on top of that, here, now you know what cards to hit with your equal links. Now you know what cards to if you can need to search out Tectoros or not. Now you know what your Rummagem target should be. You know, it's just it gives you the Aeolus answer without having to literally need the answer. You don't need to play Aeolus to get your answer because you know the answer off the top of your head.
And we just know this from experience. Usually, whoever makes the more informed play or just the better play, and usually that comes from just knowing the matchup, making educated guesses, and playing to your outs, will usually win. Well, all of a sudden Titanostalk comes in and says, well, I'm just going to allow you to make the perfect plays each time as long as you recognize them. We give you all the information you need. And as long as Titanostalk is alive, you can make the perfect play each time. And the more time, the longer it sticks, the longer you can make perfect plays, you're just going to get a win.
It's going to stick because it has 5 defense.
Yeah.
I think the biggest issue with this card, if this card was a 0/0 with this ability, I would be okay with it. If it was you could answer it, and then you just have to waste an extra turn before you can set stuff.
If it was a 1/1 if it was a 1/1 with the ability, if it was a 2/2 with the ability, if it was a variation of 1 and 2 with the ability,
just like a snapshot of the hand, like when you play it, reveal your hand.
It'd be insanely good. It would still be insanely good.
But it's not
like,
broken.
It dies immediately. Who cares?
Like as a 2/5, it's like an SS plus T. Like it's literally. Hot take, it would be the best card in the game if it stayed as a 2/5.
No, hot take, I agree with Wirtz.
I agree.
Let's get the camera.
No, this was the first card that Moxie, Wirtz, and I have ever unanimously gone like, what the fuck on? Like in the video where I go off about the card, right? In the video where I go off about the card, I was like I DM Dan and I was like, WTF, you asked me for my whenever I think a card is broken opinion, hit you up. What the fuck is wrong with you? Are you on drugs? As Wirtz is hitting him up, going, what the fuck is wrong with you? Are you on drugs? And I think Moxie did it too. I'm not sure. So I added all 3 of them into a group chat with Dan, and I was like, what the fuck?
A little bad with how like vehemently we reacted to it. Because Dan was just like, I thought it was a fun card.
Yeah, because in Yu-Gi-Oh, there's a card called Hieroglyphics or something like that. Basically, you get to look at your opponent's hand, and if they have a spell card in their hand, you always get to look at your opponent's hand. And if they have a spell card in their hand at the start of their standby phase, they gain 1,000 life points. But you always have information on what's in their hand. But it's this trap card, meaning it's slow, so it's bad. By the time you would have activated this card, your opponent would have already, you already would have made your plays. Yeah. So I think that's what he was looking at as reference, where like, oh, this card is a fun gimmicky card that's like, convulsion of nature kind of card, right? And then it turned out the second we saw it, I know I was in his DMs in the middle of his live stream. I don't know, but like
it's too strong.
It was way too strong.
No, like some people coming from Magic might compare this to, I think the card's Telepathy.
Thoughtseize.
Which is no. I know Thoughtseize play a lot, but Thoughtseize is an instance of you just see it, pick a card, you know what's in their hand, but they can draw and shuffle, etc. Telepathy, I could have the name wrong. It's a 1 blue enchantment that your opponents play with their hands revealed. The reason that is not a problem in Magic is because you have main phase 1 and instance to deal with it.
Yeah.
Because spells and abilities and Elestrals are so slow, and you don't have an instant speed card in your hand on your opponent's turn 1 to say, destroy your Elestral. You can't do that. So your opponent's going to be able to just stick it, protect it. There's not much you can do with it. Where in other card games like Magic, your opponent plays a 1-cost enchantment, you go, okay, I destroy it before you get to my turn, so you don't see my draw. Like there's reason.
Force of Bullet, not Pact of Negation. Mental Misstep.
There's just like in Magic the Gathering, because you have instant speed, because you can play cards for quote unquote no cost at certain points.
People coming from
it's not as difficult to deal with. In Yu-Gi-Oh, it's no one really cares about spells and traps that much anymore. It's all about just kind of your creature synergies and your
People
special
combo.
chains and stuff. Like
people coming from Vanguard looking up from the white powder sitting on their desk and going, "Huh, they do more
Honestly-
than I do."
in a lot of circumstances with Yu-Gi-Oh,
Tell me I'm wrong.
in a lot of circumstances, Yu-Gi-Oh,
Come
like seeing
on.
your opponent's hand doesn't do as much because in Yu-Gi-Oh, your hand is less important than what's in your graveyard and what's in your deck.
Yeah.
Like the only thing that's relevant in your opponent's hand in Yu-Gi-Oh are potential hand traps, which
I mean, the best in
you
Yu-Gi-Oh,
assume
the
you're
be-
running into hand traps
in
anyway.
Yu-Gi-Oh, the best thing you can like compare this to is Aqua Dolphin, is Neospatian Aqua Dolphin. That's you could technically compare it to
It's a
Smoke
decent
Grenade. You could technically compare it to Smoke Grenade, but like I think Aqua Dolphin's the closest thing in Yu-Gi-Oh where you can like do a proper comparison.
So I think just because of the speed Celestials is, it's just really strong.
Yeah.
If
would
this
still
card
be-
existed in Magic, it wouldn't be as big a deal. If this existed in Yu-Gi-Oh, not as big of a deal as is because you have the second main phase, you have more speeds to deal with things. In Celestials, because of how much, not necessarily the game's not slow, but because of the speed of interaction is slower, it's a big problem at a 2/5 being difficult to deal with and getting all the information.
It would instantly be at least a bit more tame if it just took a snapshot of the hand when you played it. That'd still be really good, but at least you wouldn't be able to tell what the opponent said and what they did.
It should definitely be an on-caster. It should be when you
Yes.
cast this card.
If it was
And
a
then
2/5 when you
tap
cast this card, do this for a moment, I'd be okay with it.
I would love it.
Perpetual
It's still
and
good.
2/5
but-
broken.
Yeah.
So I think you got to pick either low stats, that ability, or good stats, one
still-
moment.
Low stats and that ability is still too good just because of the speed you talked about. I think it really just needs to be a snapshot for right now at the stage Alestral's at.
Also, everybody do keep in mind, Dan does take our feedback very seriously.
This
For
card
anybody
will be
who was around in August, you may remember us gaslighting into Dan into a rotting triff before literally
You even played the
anything.
cards.
And then I literally words. Did you ever take that text off of there, off of TTS? The text that
Maybe.
says Johnny's literally in tears right now because of the Triff bed, like the Triff hero.
No, it's still on there.
Yeah,
I haven't.
Yeah.
Ironically, I haven't updated the update log in like 4 patches. Because it's just like I always forget to update the update log because I'm too busy just doing the update.
But yeah.
But anyway,
we've
we've stuck on Titanostalk for a
Yeah,
while.
I think
We
we're
should
good on
probably move
Titanostalk. So I did have a question. There are 2 more cards confirmed to be changed that I remember. Ivory and Scavagem. Do you want to talk about any of them right now?
I mean, we don't know anything about them now. Now we just know that they exist. I mean, like.
We can talk
Okay.
about them briefly before they get changed.
Well, I mean, like.
Ivory, I don't think
Ivory's
it's just
trash.
so weak. It's so trash. So
Ivory's
I
laughable.
think
10 defense is nice when the
Yes.
other 2 drops have
but it's laughable
It's a fact.
like when compared to like
Fact.
3 drops, and then you also have to face down against a Sorlet. I mean, it's outed by
But
Sorlet. And
I,
I mean, like
I think the ironic part there is that because it's 8-10 and it
no,
brings
it's a
back
6/10.
or 6-10 and it brings back the discard stuff, like you're running in a deck where you're just saying, okay, buy all the answers, here's my 6-10, deal with it, and you have nothing in hand.
So let me actually read it out. It's a 6
dumb.
attack.
Which is why I find it
And-
hilariously good.
it's so dumb.
So let me actually read the effect for context. It's a 6 attack, 10 defense, 2 water spirit Celestial that has the effect when this Ivory is destroyed in battle, you can expend 1 water spirit to special enchant 1 Typhlant from your underworld. And this just feels so weak compared to a lot of other stuff. The defense is nice, but again, most times it's going to be answered by card effects anyway.
Yeah, it's not a great
hey,
card, but I
no.
think in the perfect world, it's hilariously just
It
like
is
your opponent
hilarious.
just stares at it like it's, I don't know what to do with this. It's got 10 defense.
I just used 3 spirits to cast a Typhlant from my discard pile. Yeah.
You have to expend 1 to you have to expend 1. I'm like, why can't just special cast it?
I just
then
used 3 spirits. I'm just like, why at that point do you not just play Rise From?
Yeah.
Like
And then I think if we want to quickly, since these cards are getting changed, move on to Scavagem, which is
Let me read it real quick.
4/6 for 2 Earth.
Yes.
When it is normal casted, you can search your deck for 2 cards and put them in up to
Yes.
2 cards and put them into your hand.
Hey, words.
Really, really strong ability.
Yes.
Really bad stats. I think it's a strong but balanced card because it's going to die, but you can protect it with the cards you get. But it doesn't do
Yeah.
much other than set you up for a combo if you have a combo in Earth.
Here's some relish for your condiment deck. Have some fun with that.
I mean, I don't even know because you still have to get to
Viscous.
it.
Viscous.
Yeah, well, now
no,
I'm adding so much
I-
Earth at that point. I'd rather just
Yeah, but
Deck.
then you can literally search out every other combo piece.
Yeah.
For your deck.
Well, getting ketchup mustard out is already super consistent because you only really need to get one out at a time, and getting out hammer and Hephaestus is pretty consistent already. But I think the thing about scavagem is it's a card that right now it would be fine as is,
Yes.
but in 3-4 sets when we have some crazy 2-card combo that's super difficult to deal with, it would just be like, all right, here's my I get scavagem out. All right, how many 2 cards? You have 1 turn to respond to me before I play my 2-card combo and stick the board and win.
Can you read the first 5 lines of the first 5 words on Scavagem again real quick?
When the scavagem is normal cast.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure it wasn't special attached to.
No,
Okay.
it is normal cast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
you,
normal
you
cast.
can't rise
But-
from scavagem.
but
Stack it, rise from again.
No. That okay. So
Search out your
Scavagem
3
Scavagem
eruptions.
searches out Scavagem and another card. Then you ascend into Scavagem, and it's basically just a vampiric tutor every single turn.
I was honestly thinking you just go find like 2 eruptions. And you-
Yeah.
like
I honestly feel
Scavagem-
like with scavagem, it's either going to feel too fair and not that great, or it's going to feel busted. Because searching 2 cards from your deck is an insane effect.
right now it's
just-
fair.
It's
In
fair
a
for
few
sure.
sets, it would just
Yeah.
break, I think.
Just-
Especially if we find a way to consistently get a 2-drop Earth out on turn 1, which we
Yes.
don't have right now.
No.
Actually, I don't think it's.
No,
It
we
is
don't have anything.
possible. You could special a Tadpuff and a Demeter, Nexus
no.
2 with the Circle of the Sky from the Demeter, but no one's going to do that for drawing 2 cards from their deck.
I have done that for less, sir.
Yeah, I know you did. But
I just want to
yeah.
say, like, what,
I just want to say
Just
that
the-
Warts' idea of what you search out for Scavagem was 2 eruptions.
it's hilarious.
yeah,
That's why I said it. And then
But
you
how
pan
is
the
it-
next turn and do it again.
but how I just view the scavagem is like searching 2 cards from your deck will be insane. It's an insane effect. It is only kept in check by the cards you can search and how they interact. So
And
this card is
It's
bound
slow
to
to
be
get
broken.
out. The
It
fact
is
that
slow
it's
to get
a
out.
green 2 cost to get out. It's slow, so the effect is definitely worth it. But the effect is just like Aeolus got nerfed. The effect is an effect that just gets better and better over time, to the point where searching 2 cards would probably win you the game 5 to 10 sets down the line.
And
Thus,
generally,
I think it needs to be just dealt with
Yeah.
a little bit. I have a feeling the change to it is either going to be the cards have to be Earth, or it's going to change to where you can only get 1 cost with it, which would still be reasonable to play. Or if it's like maybe you search up to a total value of 2, so you can get 1 2-drop from your deck and you get 2
for 2
1-drops.
1-drops.
Something along that lines, I think
Yeah.
would be fair. But
Yes,
getting
just
2
give
of
more
anything
restrictions.
is really strong. Like, what if
Yeah.
you get Scythe of Demeter and Sproutier because your opponent can't deal with it, or not Sproutier, say Timber, so you can just
Yeah.
next turn play Centaur on 6 and hit. Like, there's a lot.
Or
Of
if you have Scythe, you can, or Demeter, you can grab fully Forest, get the production, just whatever
Or-
you need. If you have, say, Timber, grab the other 2.
Or we have drops before change, and you go get Humm Bust and drops,
Oh,
and just go
jeez.
boom,
Not go
mill.
back there. But yeah, just that kind of card to search out 2 cards. It's a strong card because it whenever there's good interaction, it's pretty much as good as the cards you can search out, which means it's
Yeah.
just a broken card, honestly.
Eventually,
it's fair right now.
it's a card that is eventually will be broken.
I guess Probamax is a good way to put it.
Did you just say
Okay.
search out Humbust with Scavagem?
All right,
And
moving
no,
on.
If we had old
Moving
drops
on.
before it gets changed, you go get Humbust and drops, and just go brrr as your win con.
If you guys want to see an entire SSP where Wirtz just comes up with stupid things to search out with Scavagem, Let us know in the
Bro.
comment section down below so we can do
I
an entire
only do
4-hour
meme decks.
episode.
I only do meme decks. You know how I get Mythic rank the past like 4 seasons of Magic the Gathering?
By
I
playing
played the
black.
No. Well, okay, I did have some black in the deck, but it was mostly no, I didn't even run like meat hook and stuff. I ran the Tarmogoyf ooze. My deck was
I love that
Tarmogoyf
you were
ooze.
drinking for that.
The Tarmogoyf ooze, that's, if you guys don't know what Tarmogoyf is, it's just a really cheap, efficient beater in Magic.
You were playing
And then
Tarmogoyf Beatdown?
I was playing the ooze that basically does Tarmogoyf on 5 and summons itself every turn, so you get a ton of those. And that's how I got to Mythic rank 4 seasons in a row. Is that and like Ren 7? Yeah, Ren 7. And like the stupid artifact land from AFR that sacks itself for treasures. And I would just get a 6/7 like multiple times in a turn, and it actually did really well. I only play meme decks. That's what I'm trying to get at. That's just what I do.
Looking for new collab targets. This one's broken.
I have a mono red commander deck in Magic that is all about cloning Brothers Yamazaki, which is a card that wants multiples in play.
But
and
it's a
Commander is a
legendary.
format where you can only have one in play. It's a legendary that doesn't have legend rule apply if you have more than one in play, but you can only have one in the deck, and that's the deck is trying to get multiple into play when you have one in the deck. This is what I play, sir. That's how I play my games. I do the stupidest things and refine the stupidest things until I win a match.
Hey, Jacob, you think it's too late to get Moxie in here?
I have fun. That's what I do. All right, what's our next card?
Okay, back to the regular reveals. We have Lodogon here, or however you pronounce
Lodogon.
Lodogon. Yeah. But it's a 7 attack, 8 defense, 2 spirit celestial, the ascension of Tritaya here, and it reads, when either player casts Ambrosia or Golden Apple at Discord, you can target and destroy one card on your opponent's field. It's a good effect. Like, destruction's always going to be good. It's just how realistic on this kind of body to get out and having to cast those cards.
I think this card is unironically in the same tier as Sonic Core. I think it is an S tier card that is so trash, no one will touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, I think it's a card. No. So the best part about this card is it has 8 defense. Unfortunately, the consistency. So you don't. I mean, maybe you play like a Thunder Earth hand disruption deck, but I don't see that being super viable right now.
Or you could play a Thunder Water Earth because you could run Typhlant because we haven't even covered Typhlant yet. But like, you
don't play Golden Apple unless you're really trying to do something specific. Like Golden Apples of Discord.
It shreds
some people missed it. Since it wasn't really officially revealed, but was revealed in a video, and then it was. Anyway, it's a 1-cost rune where you discard a card to force your opponent to discard a card at random, and then they mill 2.
Yep. So you go -2 to force your opponent to go -1 and mill 2.
What Lodogon will do is now it turns your Golden Apple to a hand disruption Earthquake, which sounds amazing, but you need to get a 2-cost Lodogon out.
Which is actually
in Earth.
Which isn't that hard.
In Earth though, which is not like
IDOLO attacks over something. I mean,
it's possible, but it's not as fast. It's not as easy as say Tad Puffing out of water.
I mean, you could always Tad Puff out of water, play a Demeter, circle the sky Demeter.
What I'm trying to say is it takes at least 2 turns to get Lodogon out, and you have to either hold Apple in your hand that whole time, or draw into it with Lodogon and play at the same time, or Ambrosia. So now you're running 3 Ambrosias, 3 Apples. It's not going to be super consistent all the time to get a combo piece, and you might not even consistently be able to get Lodogon out. At least with Drataya, Drataya is a 1-drop, so you can have a Drataya, you can have Ambrosia in your hand. The Ambrosia you can always play at the last possible moment. So when you draw that Drataya, it's like, oh, well, there's a bonus for my Ambrosia I need to play. Lodogon, you can't just go, oh, I'm going to just play Lodogon now and do the thing. You have to just set up for it, and that takes, I think, a lot of time and effort away from other things you could be doing.
it's the payoff here is phenomenal. It's just the requirements are what holds it back.
It's inconsistent.
I think
Yeah.
if you want, I think if you want to play Lodogon, you're fine to play Lodogon.
Yes,
I just think there's much better options. You could, instead of playing Lodogon, you could play Scavagem.
Just if you're playing Lodogon, get your dice ready.
And then you can search out a Hummabust and it drops
No, if you're playing Lodogon, prepare to get destroyed by the randomness of your deck.
Prepare to get destroyed by like literally any competitive viable deck, because Lodogon is like, I'd say Lodogon would be like, I'd say it wouldn't be tier 1, but I'd say it'd be like tier 2. I guess you'd easily be tier 2.
Yeah, if you can stick a Lodogon and get it protected, it will do a lot of work for you if you get the cards you need for it.
Yeah, and you know how you can get the cards you need for it? You can play Scavagem.
Yeah, so now, okay, yeah, let's just get two drops into play over the course of 4 turns in Earth.
And yet we don't even know Scavagem how it's being changed.
Yeah.
So this could be irrelevant.
I do really like Lodogon. I don't think it's going to be able to be super, super powerful because you have to...
I'm sorry, I'm just going to keep defaulting back to Scavagem.
Yeah. Just you have to, like, I've been trying to make Drataya work with Ambrosia, and it works. It doesn't feel good because it's just like, there's so many games where I've, like, drawn 2 or 3 Dratayas and not a single Ambrosia, and vice versa.
I mean, like,
and
yeah,
you can rummage
him for Drataya, so it doesn't feel as bad. But like, you can't search
Ambrosia.
Drodogon.
You can't search anything.
You can't search Lodogon. You can't search Ambrosia.
You can't search it. I mean, like,
you just gonna draw into them, and that makes it difficult. Now, if we get, I don't know, Drataya's little brother, Appleta, that searches out Golden Apple or Ambrosia from your deck. So
it's Necti, and it's like. Sure. And it searches out Drodogon.
If we get in set 1, maybe even set 2, an Earth 1 spirit cost that's like a 1/4, maybe not 1/4, maybe like a 1/1 that searches for Ambrosia or Golden Apple, and you can protect it for a turn, and that will make Lodogon very playable. As is, I don't think it's super playable, but it's playable. It's not A tier viable. It's definitely a fun deck to play. Play it. It's a fun card. It's a fun theme to go with. Just don't expect to be able to destroy, top tier decks with it because it's going to be very random. But if you do pop off with it, it's going to feel great.
Yeah, but top tier decks don't really care about having 1 to 2 cards popped on at like any given point. I mean, I've never been playing like a top tier game and been like, oh, I just wish I could pop this one specific card.
No, but the thing is, you're popping a card in hand. The thing is, like, if you play with Golden Apple, you're popping a card in hand and you're popping a card on the field, which is really good for 1 spirit room.
But you're also discarding a card in your hand too.
Yeah, but
there's a card advantage. But Earth can.
I mean, no, you're not losing card advantage. You go card even because
you discard a card in their hand.
You discard a card, and then you play Apple, and that discards a card from your hand, uses a card from your hand, and you're discarding a card from their hand and popping a card on their board. So you're going even in card advantage. But you're also able to answer a problem. But then again, your opponent now knows that you have 1 less potential problem that they have to deal with. Yeah. So
maybe you play Earth Reanimator with Lodogon, so that way you have a reason to play Apple more. Like I think if you're playing Apple and you're not trying to mill, you're probably playing a Reanimator card. You're probably playing Rise of and some target to reanimate.
Rise from, sir. Yeah.
Rise from, Majesty done.
You were the first person to find out what the card was outside of Bex, and you still used the wrong name. Come on. You know how Bex asked me to pay for payment for the leak? She asked me to send her the full card. That card I've been showing everybody and like sending them pictures of like throughout the entire leak was literally just, I accidentally deleted it from my phone. Let me go download it from the Discord conversation with Bex.
Yeah, I think my thoughts on Lodogon are like twofold. The first one, which is the less relevant one, is it worth playing a strong payoff card if you have to run a card that really isn't that great? Because I don't think Golden Apple right now is that great outside of maybe a certain strategy. My second point is, why would you run this card when Earthgrey has like a good 1 spirit? I guess that just feels better.
Earth has
for competitive.
Earth has like a much better 1 spirit, like anything than any other type, like outside of like Wind, but Wind does nothing on its own. It has to be mixed with something else.
Yeah. So I just
it's
fun,
Earth
but
does have is the worst 2 drops. September, not that great. I mean, except for getting Centaur out.
I think
Titanostalk is terrible. I'm sorry, Titanostalk is terrible.
Yes, no, I totally agree with that. That's not
Y'all are so mean to Sakura-saur. You know that was Sorbe's first deck.
add stat lines, and then you have to expend 2 to draw 2. Not even
But
when
Earth
you
one
expended to
drops.
it. Yes.
Earth 1 drop. That's where it's at. And Centaur, best boss celestial. It's just getting him out. It's the hard part.
I still disagree with that stance. I still think Exaltair is the best boss monster, but you know what? We can do. Exaltair does not have a Ascension.
That's 3
so...
cost boss monster, Johnny.
All right, there we go.
There you go. All right, what's the next card?
So we should quickly mention Jataya's slight upgrade. It's still a 2/4 for 1 Earth, but now instead of it just being when you cast Ambrosia, it's when either player casts Ambrosia, you can draw 2.
Which is a buff,
but
but
a nice little buff.
It's
not going to be too relevant.
Yeah.
It's
nice
though.
Yeah, it's just nice.
I don't think anybody could argue the fact that it's bad, so.
On a scale of like 1 to 100, it pushes to try up maybe like 4 points.
I'd put Jataya in like the 80s to 90s if we're doing a scale from 1 to 100.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, if you scale it from 1 to 100, that buff from just you to everyone gives it like 4 or 5 points on a large scale. It's not a huge buff, but you can't complain.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's not game breaking, but it's just nice to see. It's like, okay, cool. All right. The next big reveal is actually another big one, is the Elichic Change, the Gryffuse, and the Voltempest. So I'm going to read all 3 of them again because they are relevant. Elichic is a 1 Thunder Spirit, 4 attack, 1 defense celestial that reads, when this card is normal cast, you can search your deck for a divine rune and add it to your hand. Be relevant for later. Gryffuse is a 5 attack, 3 defense, 1 electric, 1 wind, so it's a 2 spirit, but 1 electric, 1 wind. And it reads, you can nexus 1 spirit from a divine rune on your field. If you do, you can special send this Gryffuse into a Voltempest from your hand or deck. Gryffuse is a 13 attack, 10 defense celestial that requires 2 thunder, 1 wind, so 3 total. And it reads, you can disenchant 1 electric or 1 thunder or 1 wind from this Voltempest. If you do, your opponent must expend 3 spirits. And if Zeus is enchanted, this Voltempest cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effect.
So I have a really funny story about Signetric that I can't actually talk about, and I hate that I can't talk about it.
But not even know the cards we're talking about.
But in 3 years, mind you. I'm gonna write this story down actually, and I'm literally gonna schedule a video for 3 years from now, so that video drops because it's the most priceless. Dan would kill me if I ever said the story. Let's put it that way.
The best, I think. Okay. The Elichic change is fantastic. Yes. It makes Thunder like a super toolboxy for rune color element. Yes. Like now we have Jolton to get stadiums. We have Elichic for divine runes.
It's got great. It's cool got decent stats for it.
If we find if any card gets a search for a 1 cost invoke rune, it'll be Thunder in the future. Mark my words. But I think that makes Thunder have a cool like archetype niche now, where now it's like it's the artifact searcher, which is cool. Yeah. Or not the artifact searcher, it's the rune searcher. Gryffuse, we don't care about its stat line. No, it's just there
to get Voltempest.
Do the Zeus. You get Zeus out and you do the Voltempest thing with it. So we don't really Gryffuse just specials into Voltempest, so we can skip over Gryffuse in my opinion. It's never really going to be relevant.
Its value is directly linked to Voltempest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I mean, if we do get the Pokemon effect, like Wirtz has mentioned previously in the other podcasts before, of the possibility of like different Voltempests in future sets. I mean, I think that we could see like massive. We could see like massive issues with Signetric because like I've been very vocal about my issues with
Signetric or Gryffuse.
Signetric. Or Gryffuse, yeah. Sorry.
Okay. Just want to make sure I understood. Okay,
yeah. I always forget Gryffuse exists. I'm just so used to Signetric at this point. But yeah, so Gryffuse, we could see massive problems with Gryffuse being like overpowered in the future. Right now, not a problem, but I mean, like we all know how I feel about special casting 1 specific unit.
Gryffuse wouldn't necessarily be broken in this case because Gryffuse just gets Voltempest. It's all
but it depends on what the Voltempest does. Because if you can skip an entire turn, like now every single turn instead of like the potential of burn, now you have to go like, oh, Well, there's the potential for 3 attacks, or there's a potential for blowing up every rune on your
Yeah.
opponent's board on turn 2. You know, it's like
I mean, we can play what ifs forever. Really, it's just like if down the line it's like, okay, we're gonna make Voltempest Necro Lord of Doom or something in Dark, right? And you look at that card and go, okay, well, this Voltempest can just get summoned by Griffuse. You're gonna be like, okay, well, I can get the special with Griffuse, so I gotta play like you.
If Dan ever makes a card named Voltempest Lord Darkness of Doom, I don't care. I will shit on Elestrals for the rest of my life. All right.
No, but I'm just saying, like when you're looking at future card design, especially since we only have one set, we don't have that issue. Like in 20 years, if Elestrals still being made, if they overlook Griffuse,
Yes.
well, that's an oopsie.
Problematic.
Oops.
Yes.
But
We
also
see that
at the
problem in
same
Vanguard.
time, if you
who would have
are
thought
making
that
a
this card?
card,
Who would have thought this one card that was made like 30 years down the line would be overpowered when combined with Skull Clamp?
but
Vanguard.
20 years down the line, you just ban Griffuse at that point.
Yeah. I mean,
Like, because no
Van-
one would use it unless you're playing Voltempest.
I honestly think
if that relevant, you don't forget about Griffuse.
I honestly think the answer is just to preemptively say, "Hey, we're having a rotational format inside Elestrals." I think that is honestly the easiest way to go about it.
Yeah.
I get
We'll
genuine.
see. We'll see what we. But anyway,
Voltempest,
we go back to Voltempest since we got
Yeah.
caught up on Griffuse being stupid.
Griffiths is stupid.
It
That's-
makes this
that's
line
story
most viable.
card.
That story
Voltempest
is
is a nice card.
when I get to tell that story. Oh no, I'm thinking about Signetric. I don't know what the hell I'm going on.
Voltempest is a very nice card.
one of
It's
the
got
easiest ways to
protection, which
get
is
out.
good. It doesn't need to attack, and it has protection, which is good.
It's one of the
Like,
best protections as well. Just
it's
can't
really
be targeted.
nice.
Oh, okay,
It's
real-
really
any
nice
card
that
effect.
it doesn't need to attack, so it doesn't need to be affected by counter. You can do work with it without it getting shielded. Is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say.
Can I ask
If your opponent wants to touch Voltempest and you don't attack without it, shield because you attack. But if you don't attack, the only way your opponent can answer it is if they answer Zeus first. That's really what it says.
Which-
And you
Or
can just keep
Demeter,
burning.
Yes.
or Hephaestus? There's so many other cards you could theoretically get.
No,
with
because
it.
I mean
But
no,
he specifically
no,
says-
Voltempest specifically.
Oh no,
Zeus
he
to have
specifically
protection.
says
Yeah,
Zeus.
he
But
specifically.
Elichik searches anything.
Yes.
My bad.
Okay, is it kind of like annoying to anybody else other than me that Voltempest just kind of like came out of nowhere?
Yeah.
Like, is that just like, because like
I mean,
like
Elichik searched for a one win,
a
which
win.
was weird.
Yeah.
What's Aquarius teasing?
Mm.
Wind, water, bird.
Huh. Okay.
Anyway, that's a
Anyway.
tangent to think about, actually.
what is
About another
Spaltuga
time.
teasing, guys? No.
But no, I really like Voltempest,
What-
especially with Griffuse, even future presidents, because this is I think one of the most realistic 3 spirits to actually get out
Guys,
and
We're
keep
ju-
on the board.
Let's just put something in my head. Was
What's that?
Rummagem teasing Scavagem this entire time?
I mean, basically. But
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
one of the easiest to get out. It's got built-in one of the best protection effects. It's better than Centaur's.
I think
Oh.
I think it's gonna lose
it's
to
leagues easier to get out than Centaur.
but
Yes.
I
And
think
it's better
it's
protection effect as
but
well.
I think it's gonna lose to Imperial in the Thunder boss monster matchup.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Because Imperial's just a straight up pop one,
But
and it's
Imperial
like
requires you to run 14 Thunder. Minimum.
And you
13.
need to get the Signetric.
Oh, yeah,
we
Signetric
should
too, yeah.
we should say the
And then
Signetric
one
change
through
as well.
I can't.
So you
wait
get
to, like-
locked pretty hard into Thunder, almost basically mono Thunder at that point to play Signetric. You could theoretically run 4 Thunder in your Voltempest deck and make it a 4 Thunder and a bunch of Wind, and it would still be workable.
I want to tell this story so bad, and I'm sad. That I
So
can't.
we should clarify. Signetric has been changed to that. That's the one image I forgot. I know you need to
Signetric, you need to
12.
reveal 12 electric inside your spirit deck, and then you can special ascend or you can special cast. Special ascend into
Special ascend
into
into
Imperial.
Imperial. And
But
note
you need
that
to have
needs to be
12
in your
Imperial.
deck at that moment. So
Which means you're running 14 because there has to be 2 Thunder on the Signetric.
And you're running
you
more
need
than
to get it
14 in the
sooner
off
rather
chance
than
that you
later.
don't get Signetric on board first time.
Yeah. So you're
And-
running probably on average
I-
15 to 16 Thunder if you're trying to get Imperial out consistently.
If you're trying to get Imperial out consistently, you just play nothing but electric. Because at that point, like, what
No,
else are you?
you could-
What are you running?
You're on a clock with that.
You
Yeah,
could splash
yeah.
for
I mean,
splash
'cause-
for Earthquake. You could splash for
Your
Tsunami.
your opponent goes eruption on turn 1. You can't play Imperial via special cast anymore.
Yeah, I mean you could Ambrosia and Quackle.
But then you're relying on Ambrosia and Quackle as well.
Yeah, but
yeah,
there are
I
options.
mean, like
There
there's
are
options,
options, yes.
but then again,
But
like, your
I
entire
don't think you
strategy
need
is,
to
like-
run 20. I think you could run like 16, 17 and have a couple splash cards.
I think you're on 18 and then 2 for Pyro.
Yeah, or 2 for Earthquake, or maybe you run 1 Leviathan for a Tsunami in the deck.
I can't justify running 2 Earthquakes, like two Tyrannosaurus for Earthquake. That's a conversation for
Yeah,
another video.
I think Signetric will be better discussed later once we get like Imperial, if it gets changed at all.
Imperial, I think, like, just because it's symmetrical
even if Imperial's not
Imperial's
changed,
with Imperial's effect, I think it's obviously going to be a much better boss monster.
Because
than
Imperial
Voltempest.
Imperial is a huge body.
Yeah.
That says I can Earthquake or Thunderstorm on a stick, which is a very, very good ability to have.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing will just be you're on a time limit to get out.
Yeah.
It out without the assistance of other cards, and I
But-
think that's going to be a big limiter for it.
Yeah. But to go back to Voltempest, I think the
Yeah.
best part about a boss monster that doesn't need to attack to do work is that it doesn't run into shield.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just says, "Hey, I'm here. I'm difficult to deal with. You got to attack me to actually handle me, because I'm just going to eruption you every turn with my big body, and you're not
Yep.
attacking over me
And
unless you get
expend one is
or Penterror."
so good. You can re-enchant it, expend 1. The Griff use combo sets you up with that 1 to expend right away. And
It's very
I
nice.
actually love the fact that it's electric and wind, because you can actually run those wind cards as well
Yeah.
and still
You
be
could-
fine to ascend into Griff use. No problem.
You could run this in a majority win deck with literally 4 Thunder for the chance that you get the
Yep.
combo off. So you have 2 for Zeus and you have 2 for it and 1 wind, and then you just use wind to do its abilities.
You just need to run Zeus and Wind as well, which isn't
So-
the most optimal one, but it still can help. So it's not
Well,
bad. card
Voltempest
either.
is really more of a wind finish.
I think the
Yeah.
best usage of the new Elichick is literally search out Aeolus, though.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Or
Great.
Hephaestus.
or Hephaestus, yeah. I think that's like literally the best use for the new Elichick is just search out anything but Zeus.
Yeah, well, Zeus and Demeter are on the lower end of how strong they are.
Yeah, but Demeter's better than Zeus because if your opponent plays Bag of Winds, then you can't target their Zeus.
Yeah.
You can't target them with Zeus. So it's like, I mean, like your best usage is literally search out Demeter or your Demeter, Hephaestus, or Joy Boy. I mean,
And Demeter also just synergizes better with the deck because of Tactoros is a good one
Yeah.
to list.
And
Zeus just falls behind.
I always forget the Fire Taurus.
Fulguri's.
Valkyries.
Yeah,
I always forget his
that
name.
makes- Yeah, Valkyries with Hephaestus.
So, yeah, I wish Zeus and Demeter were a little bit stronger. They're fine. They're still good cards. I mean, as the Nexus banks are always good.
Yep.
It's just searching cards out is really good. Nexusing off Poseidon is really good, especially when Aphros exists. Like, you get to draw 2 for free with Poseidon and Aphros every turn. Like, Water wants to do a lot of Nexusing, so Poseidon really fits that strategy. And then Zeus is like, well, if you want to attack... I mean, the best part about Zeus is that Thunder has no 5 attack in 1-drop, so Zeus lets you attack. That's about it.
I think
So,
unlike Golden Apple with Lodogon, I think Zeus is a good enough card where you don't feel too bad running it with if you're running a Voltempest deck, thankfully.
it has use besides
Yeah.
just combo.
Yes, thankfully.
The best buff to Zeus is the fact that it works with Voltempest right now, though.
Yeah, no, literally. Yeah, I got nothing else
what's
to add about that card. Right for the next
what-
one?
Yeah, what's our next card?
Okay. Amphirex. Someone might pronounce it differently. I forget how Dan pronounced it in the live stream.
Fire
honestly.
Phoenix.
Yes, it is. I mean, we've kind of seen this before through the Pro-type deck cards, but I'll read it off again. Official reveal: 3 attack, 3 defense, 1 fire. And it reads, when this Amphirex is in your underworld during your opponent's end phase, you can expend 1 fire to special cast it.
So what it really reads is, on your opponent's turn, get ready to telegraph
That's nice.
Lazarus.
Yeah.
It could be misenchanted.
Or Leonite. Leonite's
Can
not
it
a
be
terrible one.
misenchanted?
It can still
Yes,
be
it can.
misenchanted.
It can be
Oh, all right,
misenchanted.
you're right. Fire and 3 Infrix, and every deck you're trying to get 2-drops out in the end.
Yep, exactly.
This
also,
yeah,
You, very specifically, you had said, "Hey Dan, this doesn't stop me from playing my Sonic Core on my
yeah, I did say that.
And Dan was like, "I'll fix that then." and then Dan was like, "What if I didn't though?"
Yeah, I don't. Okay, so I don't mind it because it becomes an expensive card because you have to get it into the grave first.
yes, you have to
Underworld.
change it at some point.
But once you get in the underworld, the on repeat button is really, really strong.
You can choose
Now,
when to use
Dan
it.
has said he wants the card to be really, really strong. I don't think it's broken, but I think it may cause an issue down the line with, I'm just going to on repeat get a bunch of 2-drops out. Like,
I'm just gonna on repeat play Rummage.
no, okay. Here's imagine if in the future we get a 2-drop that says, sacrifice this 2-drop, destroy all the Celestials on your opponent's board. That would be a reasonable card, but with Infrix, it's like, well, I'll just do that every turn now.
Yeah.
Like,
Black Rose Dragon every single turn.
Or you just go into Rummage him every single turn.
You mean Scavagem?
into Rummagem. Into Rummagem.
Yeah, no, the extra play. You. Yes, into Scavagem.
Infrix is a good card. It currently is not a problem. It will be difficult for the card to become a problem.
I think,
but it could become a
slow
problem
as well.
I think lesser experienced players will face somebody like Wirtz, for example, who are using meme decks, and they won't know how to play against it.
Mm-hmm. No one knows how to play against my decks. My decks are too stupid.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me.
Hey, Ketchup and Mustard is a great deck, but you shouldn't play it.
I know how to play against your decks.
Yeah, but I think Phoenix is a really, really good card.
Did you just call?
You also, because it's a bit expensive, it also means that you really need to be careful to not spam it every single turn, or else you might just run out of spirits
but
if you're not.
Could spam it every turn. And
that's the other point I was going to
make. You could. It's and players will get greedy. Because, even I could see myself getting greedy if I had an Infrix in my discard. I could see myself going but
getting multiples of these in your underworld.
Extra body.
Here's the magical Christmas land in the future. There's a self-mill deck where you get 3 of these into your underworld, open up your opponent's board, and now you just attack into their face for a ton every turn.
If I wanted to self-mill, I'd go play Modern and Magic, okay? I don't want to... Or I'd go play Grand Blue.
Or play any Yu-Gi-Oh deck.
Or play any Yu-Gi-Oh deck.
But yeah, it's just... I think it's a card that... It's fine. It's very strong. It gets you to 2-drops really easily. It will be a card that allows fire decks to consistently play 3, 4, 5 2-drops because if you get the Phoenix
really
in
any
play,
deck though.
Now you can't really get punished
for playing. You need a lot of fire though. Is the issue. If you're going to do it on repeat, you do need a lot of fire to keep expending to get into play.
But now you don't really get punished if you get shielded with a Blazerus.
Yeah,
because now you can just replay Blazerus.
Exactly. So I think it's a card that will allow you to play 4 or 5 2-drops when normally you want to play 3 2-drops in a deck.
I'm just imagining the Christmas land where it's I play the Infrix, and then I play
a Foolish Burial,
and then I play a Nectar, and then I get 2 more Nectar, and then I have a 4 to 4, and then I pass turn, and my opponent just stares at me and goes well, I can only deal with 2 of them.
No.
Yeah, I think Infrix. The fact that it's not a once per turn effect for Infrixes in general, getting multiples into your underworld is going to be really fun because now all of a sudden it's I'm going to be afraid that I can play a 3-drop too. It's a fun card. It's super strong. It's got a lot of potential.
It's great for. I think it's good for competitive. It's good for casual.
If it comes out as is without any changes, I'm fine. If it gets nerfed, I'm fine. I'm fine.
We just need to watch it long term.
In reality, all you can really do is right now is play this in fire because of the cost. I mean, like, you'll overexert if you're not.
Well, you could play it in a 50-50 deck. Like if you do 10 fire, it's reasonable.
You could go
if
like
you're
10
playing
fire, 10 wind. I mean,
anything less than 9 fire, I wouldn't, because you could only theoretically use it twice then,
If
because
you
you have to pay 1 to play it. It has to die. So then you expend 1. So
you
it's
don't have-
3 costs to bring it back.
But you don't have to enchant
and
it
that's
with a
also
fire first.
That's also
Yeah.
assuming that you
That's also fair.
don't have a. That's also assuming that you don't have like other fire cards in the deck, because then you have to factor in those ratios. For
You
example,
need
if
a
you're playing,
reasonable amount of fire to play Infrix,
if you're
which
playing
is the
Infrix
limiting
for
factor.
Swarm, then I mean at that point you might as well go
Yeah.
ahead and run like you might as well go
If
ahead
it's-
and run like
it's Swarm, it's
Nektar.
fire.
I mean like.
If you're
Yeah.
playing Infrix Swarm, you're doing something weird anyway. So
Yeah.
you have some. You're probably playing. There's better Fire Swarm. Like Fire is currently the
Ignite
super
target
aggro
bears.
Swarm, super
Swarm.
aggro Tall, and super control color.
All right, so we're actually at 2
Yeah.
hours.
I'm not surprised.
So I say we speed run the rest of them.
All
Okay.
right. Next card.
Yeah.
Go.
Yep. All right. So we already talked about Barabog for a little bit. 3 attacks, 7 defense, 1 earth, 1 water, so 2 spirit.
Go check
and-
out his
A-tier.
video and
Yep.
comment on the video if you want to.
And
thoughts
I
on it.
His video.
made
not
a
my
video about it as well.
My video? I didn't
I made a
in
video.
my frame, I'm the bottom and he's up here.
Oh, okay.
Wait,
Yeah. So it's
who's
my
up
video.
here? Who's up
So-
here? Me or you? Me or him?
That is
What matters is for you, Johnny. I
Yeah.
think.
okay. So this is.
Yeah,
I'm now
that's
pointing.
me.
That's
That's
you.
Jimmy
Okay, on
on
my
my
screen, that's
recording.
Johnny. Go
Okay,
look
okay.
at his
That's-
video and I have a comment
yeah,
on his
look at
video.
The Eagle the Ducks.
Don't look at mine because
Channel.
I'm Barabog's not a problem in my opinion. So I
No, I don't think it's a problem.
It's a super
I had a
fun card.
concern with it, but go watch that video. I think good TLDR is not a problem.
And you have
Yeah,
all of our,
rewords
you
his
have
comment, that's
everything
very
that we're gonna say.
just enchant your laurels with the Teratless and you're fine.
Yep.
So
Okay, next one is Majursa. So I'm going to read through all 3 of these real quick. So Majursa is a 12 attack, 12 defense, 3 founder that reads this Majursa. Gains 2 attack for every Earth Scout, Earth Smog, or Earth Seer on the field. Your Earth Scouts, Earth Smogs, or Earth Seers can be attacked or targeted by the opponent's card effects. Real quick, I think that is a nerf to not allow them to be targeted by card effects, as now, if I'm not mistaken, Laurels will not hit Majursa since
laurels will not hit Majursa. There is no
I
legal
will not.
target.
there's no legal target. Okay, never mind that. That's a fine.
And the Bears are gonna die anyway.
Yeah, the Bears
Yeah,
are gonna die by
so-
battle. I mean,
The Bears.
I
Speaking of the Bears real quick.
meant to go and I meant to go type Majursa, like in the Majursa can't be the laurels in your video, but I like completely spaced out.
Okay,
no,
that's a good note. Okay,
if
so
there
that
is
a
no
buff.
if there is no legal target for laurels, laurels cannot be activated, and it
Gotcha.
only targets the lowest spirits enchanted, so it will not be able to hit Majursa.
I'm so excited for comprehensive rulings because that would be a
Alright.
lot easier.
Cards.
Anyway,
Cards.
Earthseer is a 4 attack, 1 defense, 1 fire that reads when this Earthseer destroys an opponent's Celestial in battle, you can special cast one of the 3 bears that I'm talking about here.
Limited fire Viserys.
Yep. And from hand or deck in defense position, Earth Smog is 1 fire spirit as well. They're all 1 fire spirit. 2 attack, 3 defense that reads you can expend 1 fire to special count one of the 3 bears from your hand in attack. And Earth Scout is a 1 attack, 3 defense that reads when it is destroyed in battle, you can special count one of the 3 bears from your deck. From your hand or deck in defense.
So
Yeah,
the,
it's pretty much.
It's a limited fire foamy. It's a limited
With
fire
more
Viserys,
stats.
and it's like a buff Tadpuff.
So
Yeah.
I say this is bad. This strategy is bad from a competitive standpoint because Majursa is a 3 cost. If Majursa was a 2 cost, I would say the strategy would be insanely good. But Majursa is a 3 cost. So this strategy is bad from a competitive standpoint. Great for a casual standpoint. Looking forward to playing it, but I wouldn't rank it any higher than B tier.
I think the biggest point for the 3 bears are probably the best out of the bunch and has the most potential. I just don't think it's very meta just because it can swarm. That's about it. But their
Yeah.
stats still aren't amazing.
I actually-
is it Mog that swarms, right? The special cast one.
Yeah,
fire?
yeah, from
Mogs.
hand.
I think
So if you
I
have
think
3
the
Mogs
Bears-
in hand, it's like Mog. That's fun.
I think the
But they're
Bears.
just not good attack either.
I think the Bears like themselves,
Oh.
like the pup, like the baby bears, are insanely good. Cannot be understated how amazing they are. But like Earthseer does nothing for it. Majursa does nothing for it.
Yes,
The
I agree.
worst part of this archetype is the fact that the easiest way to get Majursa out is to destroy all your bears to get her out.
Literally,
Yes.
it doesn't.
So
It's
counterintuitive.
counterintuitive to the entire
If-
strategy, and that's what I was saying early on. Was like you build up this entire board. You're like, hey, I'm gonna make a big board, and then I will solve it for you. And now you know what all you need to do now. To answer
Laurel.
my board,
Earthquake.
Earthquake,
Shield.
Laurels,
Poison
Shield,
tip.
Poison
Poison
Tip,
tip.
Poison Tip
And the
won't work here.
fact that you spend all this effort on getting all the cubs out, only for the easiest way to get Majursa, the payoff to the archetype, is to get rid of all the bears. And now, what did you get Majursa out for in the first place?
Because
if you just sacked all the bears?
it doesn't work with it because you
Honestly,
kill
now-
the bears.
Potential, in my mind, if we had a card that was a 2-drop bear, it could be like, I don't know, or something, that said if you have
The dragon.
if you had like Urzmog, Urseer, or maybe it's another 1-drop bear, but it doesn't get interacted with by the other bears, let's say. And it says you have one of each of the other 3 cubs, special ascendant is to Majursa, then you would have an archetype that works. Right now, you just have a bunch of really good bears and something that just says sack all your bears to do nothing.
Yep. Literally, all it needs to. We just need one card to special ascent or even special enchant Majursa, and there's
And it'll be fine. If maybe make it a rune, make it a fire invoke rune for 2, or maybe even just 1 because it's going to be expensive. Just says if you have Urzmog, Urska, and Urseer out, special ascendant Majursa or special enchanted Majursa from your deck into play. All the bears till end of turn get +4 attack or something.
Still fine,
that could be a card.
No, this is the next
The Ur Dragon.
Yeah, that's the next
I can see
Ur.
myself
That's
reflecting
so
your
bad.
Johnny.
That's why they're fire enchanted, is because they're actually
They're
bear
actually
dragons.
dragons.
All right, what's our next
All right.
set of cards?
Oystress. This was just a reveal that we got to name in the Discord or help name. It is 1 water with 1 attack, 3 defense that reads, this Oystress gains 1 defense for every enchanting water on the field.
It is the most average card to be existing right now. It is just so complete average. I like it.
You know what I love about this card? Dan has confirmed that the stat changes take place after stat switches. So if you play this card and there's a galaxy on board, the galaxy makes it a 4/1, and then the defense buffs happen. This card is so counterintuitive to what it's actually trying to do.
Yeah.
It's just a stupid mid card.
I said like Foamy, Poseidon, Galaxy. What?
It's
a 4/1.
It's just a card that is so average that it'll see some play. I don't see it not seeing play, but it's.
I mean, what else does water have?
I run through all the scenarios and like, sure, its ceiling for its defense is higher, but you can just throw out a Mostation, have 6 defense right there without any loopholes.
It's a perfectly average card where if you're trying to do a deck that's all about big defense, it'll see play. We don't have a lot of payoffs for big defense right now.
Yep.
Besides Galaxy.
But
Galaxy
Galaxy doesn't work with it.
It doesn't work with it.
No, it doesn't. But if in the future, I'm saying if we have more defense matters cards, like there's a water card that just says Celestials can attack with their defense or while in defense position, like basically Spinous Act ability, that could exist as a card in the future. It'll see play. It's not a bad card. It's not a good card.
Oh, I think it's a great card.
If we get support for it, it'll be a fantastic card. Right now, it just exists as a defender.
I think water is so trash that any card that does anything whatsoever that has an effect that isn't bad makes water better. So I think this is a good card because it's water. If it was any other type, I would laugh myself out the door. But like,
all right,
what's the next better about it if there's a 1/4. But yeah, quick notable mention: Leonite's effect. I like that they cut out the clause where your opponent can't chain invoke runes. Not important. I'm glad to see that.
It was future proofing.
Yeah.
It was future proofing.
What's the Holly and Panda scene? Nothing else to say, but it's cute. Keep going. Terror. That's the next reveal.
Vertaqua, I know that Dan had said previously he was considering making it to where if it destroyed an Celestial in defense position that you could special out a Javelantis.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he did or not, but like that's what he said.
See anything? Do we have anything?
Javelantis.
Let's see. Yeah, we dealt with Javelantis. Do you want to talk about that? Yeah, let's talk about that first. And then I think then we have Rise from the Ashes.
Oh yeah, that was today's. Or that was yesterday's.
That was yesterday's, and then today's was just another Stellar.
So
it was Hydrake, so yeah, we don't need to talk about that. So we just have Javelantis.
Javelantis is if Altar of the Stars did not exist, Javelantis would be trash. The fact that now we have a potential 6 cards in deck to manipulate
9.
defense and just water, and then 9 if you run wind for Sorlet. Javelantis could see some fringe play in a very specific deck built around it. I don't see it seeing play in anything that's not built specifically about forcing your opponent's Celestials into defense position.
Why wouldn't
Yep,
I just play
it's
3? Why wouldn't I just play 3 eruptions?
Yeah.
I mean,
Because you could
No, I
with
mean,
Javelantis, you could do it on a repeat
yeah, but I mean, like,
without extending the extra cost.
but I mean, like, that's just kind of the counter argument of like, there's other cards that do it better and without the risk of having to attack.
So for context, Javelantis 6 attack, 3 defense, 2 water. That reads when this Javelantis destroys an opponent's defense celestial in battle, your opponent must expend 3 spirits. So good payoff effect. 6 attack is not good for a 2 spirit celestial. Can hit over most 1, but still not great. But yeah.
I think it's a card that if it's going to see play, it's going to see play in a position manipulation deck as a payoff. You keep it alive because you're forcing everything into defense on your opponent's board. Thus, it's now a repeat effect that you can protect with your Tsunamis and your Altars. And maybe you get 2 out. Maybe you get it out in Vertakua. Vertakua opens up the board, and then you can attack face with it too. I think it's an okay card.
Yeah.
And if you're talking about Eruption, if you're playing a deck with it, and you're saying, oh, well, Eruption's better, what if you build a deck around it and Eruption? Yeah.
I think that Capital's just a better Ascension for water.
Again, if it sees play, I think it'll see play only in an archetype where it's all about manipulating defense positions.
I think it'll see play, but I think it'll see play in like the mid tier tables, not like the bottom tables, but like the because I'm talking like regionals level, like like kind of play. Like I mean,
it's a good card with no real support for it yet.
Yeah,
it
doesn't.
It'll get better.
A lot of potential.
It'll get better in set 2. It'll get better in set 3. But like as of right now, like, nah.
It's your payoff card for your Tsunami Altar deck.
I prefer Capricorn over Javelantis, and considering I don't prefer Capricorn at all, I mean that says a lot.
Well, that's a whole other discussion.
Fired.
Rise from the Ashes, a neutral invoke rune for 3 spirits, target an Celestial in your underworld, and special cast it in attack. I believe this is the first rune reveal we've got for Kickstarter.
Yeah, I think
It
it's
is.
the first.
It is.
Yeah.
I think Rise From is trash, dog water, garbage. If you're building a deck based around Rise From, then you're building a bad deck because you want to play Rise From.
It's going to be to enable fun strategies.
I think it's a mid-tier card. I think it's
too expensive.
It's honestly, if it's a 1-drop if it's a 1 slot in your deck, it could be blowouty, but it's a card that if you're building around it, you're spending so much spirits.
I think we should just reference the video that you and I did for the reveal. I think that's the best way to put it, is just reference that video and go watch that video, and I'll put it in the info card.
Sweet spot for it, like everyone's gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna play Golden Apple and then Rise From and reanimate all those things. It's gonna be so great. It's like that's probably not gonna be in your opening hand because you're trying to get 3 cards specific in your opening hand. And your opponent can just answer your 3-drop.
Get scavagem out. You can search them out.
Its best use is getting your 3-drop out after it got answered, which isn't a great use. But if you have it as one of in your deck for those niche scenarios, I think it's a fine card. It could see some sideboard play if Mill becomes a popular strategy. It's fun. Yeah. It's no Monster Reborn because it costs 3, and people forget. Celestials, we have cost to our cards.
I agree.
It's not even 3 cost. 6 costs to get a 3-drop out.
I agree that we can't have a 1-to-1 comparison of the Power 9 in Yu-Gi-Oh! With Celestials. I 100% agree with that. I really do. But I still think that Nectar is going to be a Power 9 card looking back at it. Like 10 sets down the line, I think we're going to go like Nectar of the Gods is really good.
I think...
But that's a conversation for another video.
Mention is Sharons Obol. I think Sharons Obol might be that like a bit of a stronger card than Nectar.
What is?
Sharons Obol, do
you want to move on to those reveals?
Let's move on to Obol.
So, final thoughts on Rise? Maybe some potential, just a little expensive, not much payoff right now.
I think you can justify it as a one-of. But like you don't want to see it.
Yeah, even if it's a one of in your sideboard, if you have nothing else
Yeah.
if you have nothing to put in your sideboard, just throw one of those in your sideboard and you're good.
I think Rise From is
Pick
gonna
'em
win.
up.
I think Rise From is gonna win you a game. You're gonna get super
And it's gonna
excited.
feel
You're gonna
great.
throw 2 more copies in your deck. Then you're gonna lose the game because you're gonna have 3 copies in your hand, and your best target is gonna be a P
And you're
Gust.
gonna spend 18 to get your 3 drop out 3 times and die.
And then you're gonna get eruptioned, and you're gonna scream, "Wirtz gave me bad advice. I hate that guy."
Johnny, to make a Vanguard reference, it's going to Rise From is just going to be that critical trigger that runs you the game every like few games.
And then you're gonna be
So-
like, "I should take out all my heals, throwing crits."
Oh gosh. Okay, moving on from Vanguard analogies. Okay, so going over the cards that Dan leaked himself, we were talking about Sharons Obol, which I'm going to read the effect differently. I don't like how it's phrased. Pretty much what it says is it's a counter rune that's generic for 1 spirit, and it reads, until the end of the turn you play it, whenever one of your Lestrals is destroyed in battle, you draw a card. I'm not reading the effect as is. I think that makes way
That's
more
basically-
sense.
So the reason I think it's gonna be very, very strong is because we have things like Foamy,
Swarm.
we have things like the Swarm decks, we have things like the Urzmogs, we have things that don't mind dying, and if you can add value to things that don't mind dying, you can draw 2-3 cards for 1, which is a really good rate.
I'm not
Like
even,
if next to the
I'm not even gonna argue with that because I think it's gonna be a great card.
yeah, if next to the gods was 1 cost draw 2, I would be with Johnny where it's just broken run 3 of every deck. Because next to gods cost 2, it's a little bit, in my opinion,
more
you can
balanced.
run 2 and you wouldn't feel bad. You can run 3, you wouldn't feel bad. But Nectar Gods isn't some crazy bomb, blah 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 blah. Because you're spending.
It's
a lot
not
of
running
life for
3
it.
less cards in deck.
But
pretty much.
with Sharons Obol, the best part about it is it's going to be an insane draw engine for very specific decks, and okay in most other decks. At worst, it's generally going to be a 1-for-1,
Which isn't terrible.
and in some decks, it's going to be like a 1-for-3, 1-for-4, where you're crashing a bunch of stuff, drawing a bunch of cards, and then
Aggro Swarm's going to love this.
Yeah.
and then in your next turn, it's all of a sudden, well, I have 10 cards in hand. I'm going to deal with whatever you're going to do.
Because-
Like,
Yeah, no, Hydras give you it's a better Nectar of the Gods and Hydras, and you also get a Penterror on board at the end of it.
Yep.
I mean,
you replace all the cards in your hand, you replace all the cards in your field, and you just drew a bunch of cards for 1.
the only thing that makes it balanced is that there is no main phase 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was a main phase 2, I would yell and scream at Dan for hours on hours on hours until he either changed it or blocked me. One of the two.
The floor, because here's the thing, the floor is Jar of Greed, which is an okay card in Yu-Gi-Oh.
The ceiling is literally just.
The ceiling is draw your
It's
deck.
never
Yeah,
spirits.
the, the ceiling
Draw your
is
deck around
only,
out of spirits.
the ceiling is only limited to the amount of cards that your opponent can attack with.
Yeah.
You're playing
That's-
this, and you play this in Water Wind. You have Capricorn out to special something into play to crash another thing. Here's currently the best draw you can get with like a Capricorn play, right? You have Capricorn play from last turn. You play your Hydrake. Capricorn crashes and trades, so now it dies. You draw a card. You go get like
Foamy.
a Foamy. Foamy crashes and trades. You get something in defense position. You Altar the Foamy, whatever you get with the Foamy to crash again, and then Hydrake crash, Twin Drake crash, Penterror, you drew 6 cards.
I genuinely you can't play Hydrake off of Foamy.
No, I'm saying you already have you play.
Okay,
You have
okay,
Capricorn
okay,
play already,
okay,
and now
okay.
you're playing Hydrake, and you
That's
do all
like
that shenanigans.
that's
You draw
magical,
6 for 1.
that's magical Christmas land for the wrong reason. Your opponent also has to have a fully set up board and has to have like literally sat there
Yeah.
with their hands like this and going like pass turn. Like,
But no,
That's
on average, this card is probably on average, it's probably going to be a 1-cost draw 2 with some setup, which is still very good.
I agree.
In the right deck, it'll be a 1-cost draw 3, and in worst case
Thanks.
scenario, it replaces itself for 1.
Yeah, and
So
I mean
it cycles itself, but
if-
cycling itself is okay.
yeah, I mean because then you're just like basically upstart goblining without
Yeah.
giving your opponent life.
So I
I
think
def-
it's a great card, and the best part about it is that it's niche enough where it's really good in niches, but it's also still good enough on its basis to
I
just exist and be
considered.
played
I just
in
see,
any.
I just see a world though where I set it. My opponent plays P-Gust, targeting it. I chain it, and then they're just like, pass turn. I just see that universe.
But you
just like,
prevented that one Pigus attacking into your Humbus
But
because
you-
they didn't want to deal with it.
Nectar.
There we go.
They didn't want to attack your Humbus or Ignitar with a Pigus because they didn't want you cycling a card. There you go. There's you got value out of it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say for like set 1, I have some questions on its power because how often are we getting multi-spirit or multi-celestial boards to get that value? But it's still not bad in its base case, but it's only going to get better as we get more cards to swarm the board. And
You
we
don't
see
need
more
to
of
do
that.
anything. You don't need to do anything once you play it. Your opponent suddenly has to play around. Is it a shield? Is it a PTA? Is it a?
That's true.
Is it a bolo or is it a or is it a PT or is it a
Or is it
GTP?
bluff?
Is it yeah?
And I
like-
think the best part about this card is if it in the future becomes a problem card, I don't see it becoming a problem card because in order for your opponent to properly abuse it, I said it right. I passed turn to my opponent. My opponent attacks into something, they trigger it. I can just stop attacking their other stuff.
Yeah.
It's a problem card in the event that something ever lets you special enchant in attack mode when it's destroyed. That's it.
And then the other hand is I play it on my turn. Opponent goes, it's now my turn, and I plan on crashing a ton of stuff. It has to stay on the board for my opponent's turn. And currently with the game, people don't like seeing things face down on the board and they P-gust it right away.
Yeah.
So it's
Or-
interactable.
Or they bait
For
it
its-
out.
Yeah, it's interactable before it pops off, or it's interactable after it's activated where your opponent just goes, all right, I'm done. So I think it's not really ever going to become a problem card. It's just going to be a good card consistently.
Okay, agreed. All right.
Do we have any other cards?
We do. I'm going to quickly go over 3 that we've mentioned and just we kind of already talked about, so just quick summary. So Necklace of Harmonia is an artifact that's generic for 2 spirits that the Empower Celestial gains 5 attack. The control of the Empower Celestial must expend 2 spirits during their end phase. If they cannot, this card is destroyed. Johnny's already voiced that he really likes it. The attack gain is nice. And I know it might have been you where it says mentioning how you can give it to your opponent, a chant on your opponent to force them to expend 2.
It's a super fun card. It will definitely see play in some capacity, but it's not like some crazy busted you run in every deck. It's just going to be like you play it. It's another hero there card.
Yeah,
You play it, you enjoy it, or you play something else and you enjoy something.
It's funny.
But
it's funny because
I want to make it work in mill decks or not mill decks, burn decks.
It's funny because after Dan's stream, it was like an hour or 2 afterwards. He saw that it was one of the cards that everybody was talking about in the Discord, and he sent me a DM and he was like, "Are you happy Summer Winds got buffed?" And I sent him a DM back and I was like, "Are you happy it doesn't buff Summer Winds?" It was the funniest interaction I've ever had with Dan.
It's such a honestly, it's a very well balanced card.
It really is. I think
it's 4 costs to get a 5 attack buff in 1 turn, but sometimes that's just needed.
I've always said from the very beginning of Celestials, power doesn't matter unless it's a whole lot of fucking power. And 5 is a whole lot of fucking power.
For most, that's over doubling it.
Yeah,
most
spirits. Look at now my Swirlite out to Leonite. Now my Swirlite out to Leonite without expending. Now my Necroth can attack over a Blazerus. Now my Necroth can attack over a Sonicore. And guess what?
My Pigus can attack over a Javelantis.
Exactly! It's perfect!
This is a very, very nice sideboard card that you will see a lot of sideboards in because some decks just need the extra power to go over decks and they don't want to main deck it.
Yeah,
and I think this is your Celestial equivalent of P-box searching. You're gonna have 2 to 3 P-box in your side deck. You're gonna have 1 or 2 of these in your side deck, and some other cards.
And if you're running Hephaestus already for hammer or bags, right? There's no reason not to throw 1 copy.
1 exactly.
Just a singular copy will change your entire deck and how it plays. And I just love that.
My Magic Christmas land I want to use it for is crack it something with my opponent unable to ascend out of it. and just crack it and have them burn 2 every turn because they can't attack, and they're stuck with it.
My magical Christmas land is my opponent not knowing that they can ascend a 1-cost into a 1-cost.
Yeah. It's a good card.
But
I think it's a perfectly balanced card, and it will see a decent amount of play.
Fits the niche it needs to.
Yep.
Okay. So 2 more that I haven't talked about. I think this one will not spark much conversation. Typhlant, just a 3-attack.
OP!
Defense, water, 1 water celestial that reads, when this Typhlant is normal or special cast, you can discard 1 card from your opponent's hand at random.
This card is going to
Yes.
be a hand loop in 1 card. This card is going to be a 1-card hand loop. It's going to make everybody very mad, and I'm going to laugh my ass off while they're crying with 0 cards in hand on turn 1, and I'm sitting here with a Typhlant on board going, ha 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 ha.
So not good stats, but you can have capital. You can get it out with foamy and start discarding your opponent's hand.
Okay. It's a very a good effect. I don't think it's a busted card.
Turn 1.
But it's definitely potentially abusable in the future.
Turn 1, you play Typhlant. Then you use the Spirit enchanted to Typhlant to play Apple of Discord. Then you use Rise From to replay Typhlant. So you've shredded 3 cards from your opponent on turn 1. Top of my head. Haven't even thought about it before. Top of my head.
Okay.
You're down to 2 cards in hand. 3 because
2 cards in hand. You have 2 cards in hand. Your opponent has 2 cards in hand. Your opponent draws. Anything kills it.
But I have an
elephant.
elephant.
You have nothing to play behind it.
But I have an elephant.
But no, I think it's a fine card. I think it's gonna make Water hand disruption a deck. But I don't see it seeing any play besides specifically a deck focused around disrupting your opponent's hand, which will run a lot of low power creatures, which means anything like Necruff and Sorlet will probably be very strong against it. So you only need to stick 1 card.
Yeah.
I don't think it's too bad as like if you're running a foamy or capital and you just want to send a card. Yeah, because sometimes hand sizes do get low, and that can just really wreck something.
I think come set 2.
Army, I think is going to be an archetype.
I think set 2.
Goes the true water plus celestial.
I think set 2, the second set 2 hits, Typhlant is going to get like some random amazing support, or maybe in set 1 a card that we haven't seen before, and it's just going to break it.
We get Mammothlant, and it just says when this card's played, special summon 3
Ivory
Typhlant from any zone.
Ivory's getting changed, right? What if Ivory has like a discard 2 when it's special?
Ivory
when
becomes
it's enchanted from a dude.
It's gonna be a 3-drop now that just special enchants every single Typhlant from your underworld
deck. Or before, discard your opponent's hand.
Just the payoff to getting Ivory out is now just going to be okay. Here's 3 Typhlants with it,
or it changes the effect of all your Typhlants that your opponent discards 2 cards instead.
That would honestly, that's not going to happen because we have Foamy Poseidon like instant Majesty stuff, which is not strong enough because of shield. But if you could do that with just and also here's a bunch of discard on top of it, it'd be too strong. So it's not going to happen, but it would be fun
if you can do it on turn 1. That's the huge thing. Because this is the one circumstance where I'm like, okay, Rise From is super powerful. Because depending on what Ivory does, if it interacts with Typhlant in any way whatsoever, if Ivory interacts with Typhlant in any way whatsoever, Rise From can be so good in the strategy.
Yeah, ironically, Rise From is just a water card now.
Yeah, I told you. I told everybody, Rise From is a water support card, and everyone is like, "Oh, it's water. Oh, it's water. It's water." And I'm like, "No, it supports. It helps water so much." Everyone's like, "Oh, it's water. It's water."
It's so weird that like,
and even afterwards was like, "Oh, it's not a water card." People were like, "Oh, it's water fire," and I'm like,
"No." I don't know.
Where?
I knew exactly what that card was.
Water loves its like big, rampy, sticky things. It's just weird to get them out right now, so we'll see what other weird rampy sticky things we get to force out with water.
All right, well, moving on to the next card we've mentioned, just to quickly go over. Altar of Stars. You can access 1 spirit on your field. If you do, you can target any 1 or less on the field and change its position. It's a neutral 1 spirit counter room.
All right, so
Johnny's mentioned it.
The emphasis that we've all been putting on it is changing the battle position. But in reality, the power that comes from behind this card is literally the Nexus of Spirit. The power that comes from this card is Nexus of Spirit. And the stupid part is, because I need to get a rule clarification from Dan, or whoever's making the rulebook, because the way that they've changed Laurels, they say that Laurels is now enchanted when it's on the board, right? So that means the altar would have to be enchanted. So Technically,
Can you Nexus
can't
off
you just
Altar?
Nexus off of Altar onto something and then change the battle position? In which case, if you can, it's a free Nexus or it's a free enchant in the battle phase. You don't need it. It says you can change the battle position. You don't need to change the battle position.
This
So
card, regardless, makes carrion viable in a lot more situations.
Oh yeah, no, this card breaks. This card makes carrion to where you could run it as a one of in any deck you're running Aeolus or in any deck in general, and then not feel a downside whenever you play it. Like
Steal something, yeah. Just to clarify what we mean, carrion steals an opponent's celestial till the end of battle phase.
it's a change of heart when it's destroyed in battle.
At counter speed, you can now Nexus off what you steal.
And destroy it.
Literally steal the spirit. And also kill their Celestials in the process. So if you carry attack their Blazarus, attack with their Blazarus twice at their face, and then Nexus off their Blazarus to anything else you have on your board, their Blazarus will die.
You can even Nexus onto Altar of Stars, if need be.
Can you Nexus?
Can you?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure you can.
I think
Because it's an enchanted rune on board.
it doesn't. Yeah, we need to see the comprehensive rules. That's what I'll say. I'll say after we see the comprehensive rules.
It makes carrying good. It combos well with Viserys. You can change your defense position. Varys, who just popped out, into attack position to get another Viserys out.
It combos well with Javelantis. It combos well with Foamy. It combos well with. It lets you out Penterror a little easier because isn't Penterror like a 12 defense?
Penterror's
8 defense.
It's a 15-8.
It's a 15-8. Yeah. So you can change a Penterror to defense, and then you can attack over it with the card equipped with the Necklace of Harmonia. I mean, like literally.
It's a super versatile card that will see a lot of play for a lot of stupid, weird reasons. And every deck will be running it for some other reason.
Yep.
And
but
it's your
not
job
a
to figure out why.
Card on its own. By itself, it's a very weak card, but it's got a lot of synergies with a lot of weird niche abilities.
I will say it's an S tier card on its own. I will make that. I will.
It's so bad if you don't have anything to Nexus though.
Yeah, so that's the thing.
Depending on comprehensive rules, because if you can just Nexus onto its own though. I mean, if you can Nexus onto its own, or if you can Nexus off of it onto something else.
If you can Nexus off of it or to it, it's S tier. If you cannot, it's like a B plus A minus because you have a cost of Nexusing something to activate it.
With the Laurel's rule, there is no reason as to why you can't Nexus off of it. I mean, Kinleo still gets its effect when you Nexus off of it.
You might also have the rule that counter runes and invoke runes can't be Nexus targets. Like that could easily be a ruling.
Yeah, I mean like I said, it all depends on what the comprehensive ruling is for invoke and counter rune targets.
Mm-hmm. So it's either. Here's the thing. I don't think any of us are grading it below a B plus.
I don't think any of us are grading it below an A. I'd hope we wouldn't grade it below.
I'm going to say
there's so much versatility with this card.
There's the off chance that you have no Nexus target to activate it with.
Yeah, but you're building the deck around the idea that you'll have a Nexus target at any point in time.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're any deck you're running.
Okay, but if you have say Atlantis in play and that's it because they earthquaked your Capricorn, so you only have Atlantis, you have nothing to Nexus to, you're stuck.
That's fair.
So I think it's at worst a B plus because it has a cost of Nexus, which is sometimes relevant.
But then again, that's like saying like any card that targets a card is automatically by default, a B plus tier because it doesn't target.
The thing is, you know me, I play a lot of like water. Aphros is one of my favorite cards. I think Aphros is great.
Yeah.
There are a lot of times where I play Aphros and I have nothing to do with Aphros because I don't have a proper target for it.
Yeah. But I mean, you know me,
and that's what I'm worried about.
You know me, and I'm always trying to optimize my decks, and one way to optimize that is by having a defensive card. And I think that Altar is like it's a
great card. I'm not saying that. I just think there are times where it's gonna be just I can't activate it because I can't Nexus.
I think
that'll feel bad.
I think when I'm building a deck now, I'm not going like, oh, I should run PTA. I'm thinking I should run Altar.
Yeah, that's completely fair.
Yeah.
It stops attack. It Nexuses.
It stops the attack. It only costs 1.
Yeah.
I mean, and most things will have a lower defense stat than they will attack stat. So.
And the decks that are trying to stop attacks, the decks that are trying to force defense, the decks that are trying to Nexus off carrion, are all using it for a different reason, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yes. Agreed. I want this ruling's been clarified. If you were to say say Exalter on board and you Nexus off of it, does it still do the burn too, even though it's no longer enchanted?
Yes.
Okay, I was just wondering because that was my question with this one.
Yes,
With you Nexus off of
Yeah,
it.
That's why it
if
all
you send
depends on what the
spirits
rules.
off of, yeah,
Gotcha.
it's still
Okay.
triggered.
That's why I
Yeah.
say like you should just be able to nexus off of it, change the battle position, and like still have the ability to.
But yeah, I think
Yep.
it would be a completely fair ruling to say invoke and counter runes, being that they're not permanent cards, cannot be nexus to.
I
And
also
I think that is more likely than not.
I also love the
Okay.
battle. I also love the battle trick condition of it because like, here's what you do, right? You have a September on board, and a bag of winds, right? Hear me out. So September, they attack into September to attack over it. Okay. Well then, you go like you have Demeter, Bag of Winds, September, and Foliage Forest on board, right? So you activate Alter, nexusing off of Demeter onto September. September then gets a +1 attack bonus off of it, right? Then it destroys whatever's like trying to crash with it, right? And then you get to special enchant Centarbor during their turn. So then you have your towers at the start of your turn.
Yep. Well,
Sure.
And that's not
bringing
even.
it back in, Donnie, you have a really good point. Just a really crazy scenario. I was
Yeah.
going to say, I like the fact that if you have like a stadium up on board, or even just if you even
You
in a
can
situation
change
that
your
you
stat
nexus
line.
off of it.
You
You can change your stat line. So you can choose not to switch the position and just let them crash into you anyway.
Yeah.
And I love that that's another use
It's
for this.
it's a battle trick. I mean, and that's like
It's a
literally something I've been saying.
insanely versatile card
Yes.
that honestly maybe gets banned because it just works in everything.
Yeah.
This
What?
is the card. I'm calling
Aeolus?
out,
This
if
is
a card-
Aeolus level card?
If a card is gonna get banned first, it will be this card. Mark my words.
Dan made an Aeolus level card and didn't
This
change
card-
it? Auto
this
ban?
card-
Question mark,
It's-
question mark, question mark.
It's just like such a 400 IQ card that like it does everything.
'Cause, like-
Literally does everything except drawing cards.
Until you're in that situation, tell me you would have thought that would have been a possible situation you could have been in.
No.
Like you wouldn't have thought of that
Yeah.
situation, right?
No,
There's
it's-
just too many diverse, and I think that really where this card is going to shine is in lower level play, right? Because like, I'm personally looking at this card, I see the exact scenarios I want to use it in, right? These guys are mad lads. I was playing against some guy the other day, and he played Sarakun, equipped a bag of runes on it, and I'm looking at my hand, and I got an Earthquake and a Laurels, and I'm like, ha, I can't stop you from playing Stratomoth. he didn't wait until after he got the Stratomoth on board to play the bag of runes, so I'm like, what? And I can't answer this. And so, you know what this mad lad does? He doesn't play Stratomoth. He sits there with a 10-body Sarakun, and then is like, out my board, loser.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I think
So, I honestly think...
I think this card's ever gonna get banned? No, but I think it's because of how many options it gives you. It literally does everything but draw you cards. It could see a ban, and I wouldn't be surprised if it did, just because it wins you combat, it loses your opponent combat, it nexus stuff off, it steals spirits with carrion. It just does so much.
I
You
think
know, it saves the spirit on your board.
It's
If you
removal, it's stall, it's aggro, because you can change their celestial to attack position, so you can attack over and deal damage with more spirits.
Yeah.
Because you're also saying nexusing on, you're using its effect to nexus.
It's
so
great
you're
on
also
go wide strategies too.
There's nothing
You know-
it does poorly
You can play
at all. You know what? You know what the worst part is? Zane would still screw it up somehow.
You play 3 Iggies, right? You do Iggy, Ignectar shenanigans, right? They attack your Ignectar, and you go, cool, I'm just going to move the spirit from the Ignectar you're killing to over here now. And you don't even lose the spirit on board. And then you use that spirit next turn to go play something else.
It does everything.
everything.
It's a god card.
I think the only thing that potentially keeps this in line is the fact you have to Nexus and you won't always have that set up. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, 100%.
Unless, of course, you can Nexus off of it.
Yeah.
And that's
the
a
only
very big
stipulation.
emphasis. That's a very big... This card is either made or destroyed off the fact that you can Nexus off of it. Because
I wouldn't say it's destroyed.
I wouldn't say destroyed either, but like the potential is drastically lowered.
Yeah, I agree.
I
with
mean, like, if you can Nexus off of it, because again, with the Laurels ruling, Laurels is technically classified as being enchanted when it is on board. So when you cast Laurels, it is still technically enchanted. So you should be able to Nexus off of a rune onto it, unless there's a specific ruling against that.
Which I think is more likely.
I will tell you right now, I'm not bringing that concern up to Dan. I don't care. You guys can. I'm not.
I don't have direct contact with him. I guess I could ping him in the Discord, but
please don't ping. Guys, do not.
I could, but I'm not going to.
I feel like I need to add this disclaimer in every time Dan's name is mentioned in a video. Please do not ping Dan in the Discord.
If you want a question from Dan, ask in the question channel in Discord. He reads it literally like every day, multiple times a day. The best way to talk to Dan is not to ping him; is to ask a question in the questions chat.
No, the best way to get an immediate response from Dan
is to go to his house and knock on the door.
No!
No!
He has kids! He has kids! Do not do that.
Don't do that. Complete ironic statement. The answer would be police, but
the best way to get a hold of Dan is in support. Say, hey Dan, I never got my Alestral's prototype decks. Can you DM me so I can get the information on them?
That's a quick way to get banned from the server. Using that channel. Just ask questions in the questions channel, and he'll be there in a day or two.
And in all honesty, you don't need Dan for most problems. I mean, Wirtz is a judge. I wouldn't say like certified judge because I don't think there's a certified judge program.
I haven't read the comprehensive rules yet.
I turned down the opportunity to be a judge to compete, but I was asked. So I mean, I also can answer most, if not every single question you have to ask, unless it's like just stupidly complicated, in which time I don't have time for it. And then Jacob also does play a lot, and he does know a lot of the rules. I don't know if either of these two are okay with you pinging them. I'm okay with you pinging me, unless you haven't read the card yet. If you do read the card, if you have read the card, you still don't understand what's going on, and you still need help, ping me. That's okay. But if you don't, again, I will relentlessly mock you in my answer.
If you want to get in touch with me about a question about Alestrals, go comment on a random video of mine and boost my metrics. And I'll answer you there.
Also, same. If you want a random answer about Alestrals, comment on one of my videos, and preferably the most recent one, within the first hour of upload, and I will be sure to answer that within the first 20 minutes.
All right, do we have anything else to go over before we close this up?
Yes, we have technically 2 more cards, Chrysor and Krakking.
Chrysor, we're going to dismiss Chrysor because it's getting changed. There's no point talking about it. So.
Okay, yep.
Krakking,
and then Krakking.
It's okay.
6 attack, 5 defense, 2 water. That reads, when Krakking is normal cast, you can target up to 2 Alestral zones that are unoccupied on your opponent's field. As long as the Krakking is enchanted, they cannot be used. So it just blocks off 2 zones.
Tadpuff, and then play 2 Krakking.
Krakking.
Or no, Tadpuff, Krakking. Apple of Discord. Discard Krakking. Rise from the ashes Krakking. GG's, mate, you can't play. Get out of my game.
Oh, it doesn't work. Yeah, it has been normal cast.
Realistically, Krakking is a great card to use against go wide strategies, and that's about it.
Yeah.
No, Krakking is a great card in general because if you get it on board with the hear me out. If you get it on board with the Sonic Core, a Leonite, and a Krakking, and you get 2 Krackings,
and then these crazy examples, and just talk about this card realistically for this last one.
You want to go to magical Christmas lands?
You live in magical Christmas land, sir.
No, I believe.
140. I want to go to bed.
Land. I don't live in this. But Krakking Leonite Sonic Core is the magical Christmas lands. Magical Christmas lands like Anonymous.
You guys can't see it, but his legs are chained to the chair. we paid his fiance an expired pizza coupons.
And
we actually did have pizza tonight. Funny enough.
Point proven.
Okay. Anyway,
it's a good card. It's only really ever going to see play against as a sideboard option if go wide decks are super problematic, and we don't get Alestral board wipes anytime soon.
I think it's a fun meme deck, and I am definitely going to have fun meming with it. But I don't think I will. If I ever see it in competitive play, and I win, I will point directly at that card and say, "Take that out. That is the reason as to why you lost. Take that out." Even if the rest of their deck is nothing but 2-cost Alestrals, and they have not a single 1-cost Celestial, I will point at that one card and be like, this card is why you lost. trade it out for an
I
Infix.
think the only way this card sees consistent play is if there are decks that consistently on turn 1 drop 4 Alestrals into play, and you want to say, Tad Puff, 2 of those zones, don't use them.
I would say like set 8 would probably be like a stable power level where that could consistently happen. But by set 8, I'd imagine we'd have more removal, we'd have more speed, we'd have more interaction, we'd have.
I'm still waiting for that Alestral board wipe.
Well,
we have our rune board wipe.
We'd
but
have
that's it.
We'd have dual type. Well, we'd have dual type spirits. I mean, like by that point, I don't think like anything. Would
I
be a
don't
concern.
think we're gonna get dual type spirits
I
because
want
we
dual type
have
spirits.
because we have like
Lycris,
full access to our spirits at all times. I don't think we're ever gonna get dual type spirits.
But, like-
at least not anytime soon.
but like
maybe in
Ly-
10 years.
But like Lycris carrying of a pyro.
The
Like-
thing is,
and
dual
then,
type
like-
spirits would break the game's mechanics so fast.
And then like Vapyro like wrapped around like Terratlus's orb.
We're going way off here
I
again.
mean like,
Yeah.
well
It's-
that's
Dual type spirits, I'm sorry, if they ever happen, is going to be the jump the shark moment for the game because that would be.
I mean,
incredibly
obviously,
Changes so many fundamental things.
Obviously, I would think like they'd be limited, of course. So we don't think like we just get like dual type spirits. I think they'd have restrictions on them, like they take up 2 slots in your spirit deck or something like that. But they allow for the diversity of being able to ascend.
But then
into
what's the
something
point
else.
of them?
Because
Honestly.
then you have the diversity of ascending into something. So like if you're running,
Yes.
like
you could theoretically properly enchant a Krakatuga with 2 spirits, and one of those spirits is like a thunder, and the other one is the dual type.
I guess.
I don't think that's what
No.
I mean. Like,
No, but
I
it's
think
just,
we're going.
I mean,
this is a
like,
topic for another time. I
that's a
think.
It's a
topic, not
tangent.
even for an SP. I don't think that's it for an SSP in general. So I mean,
that's
one
a topic
video.
for an entire SSP.
that's a discussion
Oh,
video I'm
gosh.
going to record immediately while this is
Um,
processing.
Gosh.
Yeah, I think that's all the cards that we got revealed.
Yes, it is. So, unless I missed one. If I missed one, I'm sorry. Because I scrounged this together real quick.
I think that's it.
It sounds good.
Except for full art Triff because Triff best deck. Let's go.
On that
My
note,
ears still bleeding.
I love you, words.
So I guess we sign out now, more or
Yeah.
less.
Yeah,
I hope you all
Final
enjoyed.
comments?
We're gonna be working on trying to get these videos out more consistently. It's just like kind of like my work sucks, their work sucks.
I work late,
And
so
our
I don't want to say my work sucks.
our work
Other things
schedules
will be going
suck.
back.
Like
Yeah.
they don't correlate together.
they
very
don't
well.
they don't
Yes,
line
um,
up.
However,
We like our jobs theoretically, except for
We-
Johnny.
I hate my job. I hate my job. I could go on like a 40-hour rant about how much I hate my job.
Well, before you do that, how about each of us plug our channels real quick?
My channel
Close
is
it off.
youtube.com/jjohnny because I do have a YouTube channel. So
Yep. And I am Eagle the Duck, so go check me out. Ton of fun Alestral content, and I do some other things as well.
And I'm Moxie from Everything Election.
God,
Cut it there.
You go-
Cut it there.
I should have done it. No, hold on.
Cut it.
More accurately, I want to properly plug my channel. My channel is Simo. I'm sorry, I just love it. I just love it. But I do have one more thing. We do have another video planned for SSP. We're just waiting on the stuff to get here, and then I don't know who all's joining, but I know that we do have another special guest who is wanting to join for video. So there is that. It's just a matter of we're both just looking at the dog, aren't we?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is the true word CCT. I'm just the face. He's the actual face.
But yeah, so we do have another SSP planned. We're just waiting on the product to get to us. We're going to be interviewing another one of the Discord bots. So if you guys are excited for that, go ahead and subscribe to the channel down there below. If you guys have made it this far,
Subscribe to this channel. We'll be repping it.
subscribe to my channel. And don't subscribe to their channels because their channels are
Oh,
kind of mid.
okay.
But like, I mean,
Subscribe to my channel so I can not only outpace Moxie, but I can outpace Johnny, who got a head start.
Hey, listen, I have a competitive channel and nobody cares about competitive Alestrals. Competitive Alestrals is so boring. Like oh wow.
Another tangent here.
Johnny won with summer wins again. That's such a great video. Like literally, I'm having to like play against game devs at this point for the clickbait, okay?
All right, I think we close it out there.
Yeah.
It's long enough.
Yeah, we've stolen the spirits and all of like 3 hours of your time. Congratulations.
Please comment below what your thoughts are on our stuff, because we love the engagement as well.
Yeah, 100%.
If you made it this far, comment blah, 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 to the end.
Comment Barabog in the comment section down below if you made it this far.
Blah, blah, blah.
I almost hit disconnect instead of stop recording.